eat with your 10 fingers, and everything is, and everything will now, in your old age, you won't have anything to fall back on. So it's a 50-50 thing. It's chances. But even then, still make plans and make the time that you are leaving worthwhile. Then Mary Gloria said the fact that Nancy had the potential all the while, even the mom recognized that. It means a lot of potentials actually lie fallow until activated. And the differences between the former Nancy and the current one is so huge and it's inspiring. I love it. The thing about this also is many of us, that's why they say that the graveyard is the wealthiest place in the world. It has buried potentials. A lot of people that are dead, they never tapped into their potentials. What is the good of having potentials if you cannot, nobody can benefit from this thing? If you cannot refine the potentials, work on the potentials for it to become a beautiful thing. So really, that made a lot of sense. It's like having crude oil. Nobody's able to use crude oil. You can't use it to drive your car. You can't put it in your generator. So it's as good as useless. It's as good as not having any fuel at all. So potential, hidden potential is as good as being useless. I love it. Thank you very much, Mary. Gloria, that made a lot of sense. I love it. When I was watching it yesterday, I'm like, wow, that's really amazing how she was able to get all of that done. You would never know what you can actually do unless you apply yourself to it. So we're still holding on and hoping that our speakers come in, but I'm sure they'll come in pretty soon. We need to also, I think somebody in CERCA, can we just quickly talk about the programs that are coming up in the month of March? Is there anybody in CERCA that can present that very quickly, please?
Oh, yes, ma. I don't have the slides ready, but yes, I can. Good morning,
Yes.
everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, our first speaker is here.
Okay, immediately after you, our first speaker will go. Please just go ahead.
Okay, so good morning. In the month of March, is our mental health month is March, and we'll be running through our three levels in March, starting from the second weekend of March. We start with introduction to mental health, everything about mental health, everything about being a mental health.
Today, I'll be sharing a recording of a live.
Okay, thank you. Everything about being a mental health first aider. We're going to be having him starting with the month of the second weekend of March. The third weekend of March will be our level 2, where we talk about grief, where we talk about trauma, where we talk about meditation and mindfulness. And then the fourth weekend is where we talk about building healthy families, where we talk about how people have, a lot of us have grown with ACEs. So ACEs is adverse childhood experiences. So a lot of people have grown with adverse childhood experiences. We're also going to be talking about positive childhood experiences. And then, of course, mental health in the workplace. So that's the brief I can talk about when it comes to our program for the month of March. I'll be coming up again to talk more about the programs and then other things we have to do in the first quarter of the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Gabriel Balogun is here.
Fantastic. The one that concerns me, which is addiction handling, do not talk about it.
Addiction handling happens in level 2.
Thank you so much.
So between level 1 and level 2, we talk about addiction handling.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Addiction handling gives me joy.
Yes, it gives you lots of joy.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mr. Gabriel Balogun, for coming in. We appreciate your presence. Let's meet our fourth speaker, Mr. Gabriel Balogun. Gabriel Balogun is a dedicated advocate for transforming learning and development into a strategic business driver, leveraging a powerful combination of strategy, technology, people, and content. GB's expertise as a learning solution expert enables him to provide invaluable advice to coaches, consultants, knowledge experts, professionals, and organizations with his robust experience working with senior staff, executive teams, business leaders, and founders across a variety of industries through his company, Acel and Eden. As a seasoned leader in the field, Gabriel also serves as the head of learning and development at a top financial firm. Beyond his professional pursuits, Gabriel's enthusiasm for personal and professional development shines through as he lectures frequently to professional groups, business audiences, and diverse communities. His dynamic approach to training, learning, and development makes him an engaging and impactful speaker who can inspire, inform, and guide audiences in their pursuit of personal and professional development. When he's not immersed in conquering learning challenges, you can often find him either playing an exhilarating game of soccer or passionately watching one. Please welcome with me, Mr. Gabriel Balogun. You have the floor now, sir. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Tega. Good morning, guys. I am forgive the awkwardness of my position. I'm actually doing this from my car because I have to. I'm traveling. I'm heading somewhere though, so I had to park and do this, right? But I'm excited to be here. Forgive my voice also. I spent a lot of time praying for our country, so my voice is recovering. All right. Today I want to.
You sound just fine, sir. Thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. So today I want to take us on a journey. And because I know that I am talking to superstars, I want to talk or share my thoughts around something that is quite unspoken of in the public speaking, leadership space, management consulting. Basically, that space where everybody looks up to you as a leader, but there's certain things that people don't get yet, right? In the last 10 years, as much as I've spent time building my career as a learning and development specialist, I have spent time building my career as an image consultant. And one of the things that I have noticed in 10 years of working with people is that a lot of people have leadership capabilities, but they do not have the image of a leader. And my attempt today in 45 minutes is to help us learn simple principles that can help us build that presence such that when we step into a room, we can command attention and respect on arrival. You step into a space and people know a king is around or a queen is around or a leader is around without saying a word. I'm going to teach us how to do that today, because if you're going to speak in public, if you're going to lead your team, if you're going to present to the president, if you're going to do anything, you need to understand what is called executive presence, and you need to develop it. So it's one of my many training sessions that I do in personal branding, right? I don't think I need to do a lot of this. My amiable host has done that. So my name is Gabriel Balogun. Everybody calls me GB. So in 45 minutes, I will attempt to shape your thinking on the image of leadership. All right. So let's begin with a mind opener. Let's play a quick game, guys. I'll be looking out for answers in the chat. If these guys were a bank, what or who would they be? Please put your answer in the chat quickly. We don't have so much time. So let's make this as exciting as possible. If these guys were a bank in today's country, Nigeria, who would they be? Guys, please, I'm waiting for answers. Coach Beams, thank you. Coach Beams is the first person. She says access. Madam Stella also says access. Hey. Okay. Madam Nkechi says access. All right. If you work for Access Bank, they sing on our glory for you. All right. Guys, let's just type our answers in the chat. Officer says, I'm sorry, I don't know if you're a madam or a mister. That's why I called your first name. Officer says Guarantee Trust Bank, GT Bank. Okay. I'd like to get one more before I rush through. Temitayo, Madam Temitayo says Sterling Bank. All right, Access Bank has it. Let's continue. How would wearing this make you feel? If I give to you, so just for context, this is a Louis Vuitton sneakers that costs about, is it $30,000? And you know how much that is in Naira now. If I give you these sneakers as a gift and I tell you to wear it, how would wearing this make you feel? How would wearing these sneakers make you feel? Thank you again, Madam Coach Beams. She says, cool, young. Madam Ikechi says, like, I don't have my goals aligned. Okay, comfy and exquisite, younger than I really am, paying, luxurious. I like this answer. All right, the next one. Use one word to describe. If you're a woman, you can answer. If you're a man, please answer. Use one word to describe the woman who drives this. Use one word to describe the woman who drives this. Boss lady, powerful, classy. Hey God, boss, deliberate, classy, trendy, nice. The ladies have it. They're just giving it to me back. Thank you, men, too, for sharing. I think there's the final one. Use one word to describe this. I think this is an iPhone 13. Or just look at the glory of this phone and use one word to describe this. Now, we're doing something with this. I would explain when we're done with the exercise. Efficient, class, trendy. Some people say fake. Some people usually say waste of money. But I believe those people are just iPhone 8s, so it's fine. Bravo. Amazing. Thank you guys for engaging me. Now, why did we play this game? The purpose of this game is to open our minds, right? The reason why we can describe this as exquisite is because it carries the image of expensive. The reason why we call such a woman that drives this a boss lady is our perception of it. So in the real sense, perception is what drives us as human beings. There is no reality that is the same for everybody. Every single person has a unique reality. The reality may be similar to the person beside them, but everybody's reality is not the same. This is why experts like me will tell you that in your ability to speak or in your ability to build presence, perception is key. I used to say this quote, the perception of reality is more real than reality itself. I'll say it again. The perception of reality is more real than reality itself. Right? So this means that nobody has reality. Now, what is executive presence? And as you read the words, I also want you to take note of the pictures that I use. Because when I teach with images and I teach with words. Executive presence is the perception of an individual as having substance and authority, being capable, being in charge, being trustworthy, and being inspiring. That is what it means to have executive presence. There's this game I usually play. I used it for a last leadership class that I was teaching. And I brought the images of various leaders. And I asked them which of these leaders will enter this place now. And many of you will sit straight. Many of them chose Abacha. Many of them chose Babangida. No one chose Buhari. Many of them chose Obama. None of them chose Mother Teresa. Now, are these great leaders? Yes. But do they have the ability to drive change? Yes. When people hear their story. But without people hearing what you are saying, people need to make decisions about you immediately. I feel like I'm jumping the gun, but we'll get there. Now, let me to make this very easy, I will break down executive presence into 3 letters. Because my goal again is to teach, not to train, right? It's to help you learn. And I want you to think of your executive presence as your visual business card. You know, the same way a regular business card has elements on it. Elements like name, email, address, all of those things. Your executive presence is your card. The same way you give out your card and somebody can pick it on the table, and by looking at the card, they can have a perception of what your business is. Do you know that you see some people's card and you know that these people will be expensive? You see some people's packaging and you know that, this person will not be too expensive like that. Let me go for them. That is what your presence is. Please, if I am communicating, can you give me some thumbs up? Let me know that you can hear me, I'm making sense, and you're following me. So it could be some thumbs up in the chat. It could be some thumbs up using the smiley and all of that. All right. Thank you. How did they pronounce this name? Kessie. Yeah. Thank you, Kessie. All right. We're together. Lovely. Now, your visual business card or your executive presence is made up of 3 things. So like I said, just the way a regular business card has elements like name, email, and all of that, your visual business card, which is your executive presence, has 3 unique things. Your communication is an element. Your gravitas is an element. Your appearance is an element. And each of these elements, I call them image elements. There is depends on the class that I'm teaching. But since the executive presence, I call them your presence elements. For teaching an image consulting class, I'll call them image elements. And there's the 4th one. But since this is a presence class, let's call it your executive presence element, or your elements of your visual business card. And they are made up of 3 things: how you speak, how you act, and how you look. How you speak is 28% of your entire presence. And this is sponsored by research. You can Google it later. How you act is 67% of your presence. And how you look is 5% of your presence. We'll delve into it properly. The most competent is your gravitas, but the most important is your appearance. I'll say it again. The most competent of this image element that you must build is gravitas, because it takes time to build it. But the most important is your appearance. Because if you have gravitas and you have a terrible appearance, just take it. Now, let me expand again. Appearance, gravitas, and communication. Please put that in the chat if you understand what I mean. You can say, I want you to write in the chat, my visual business card is made up of my appearance, my gravitas, and my communication. My visual business card is made up of my appearance, gravitas, and communication. Please put this in the chat. My visual business card is made up of my appearance, my gravitas, and my communication. I'm going to keep expanding on this as we go. So let's begin with the second one, gravitas, which is the most competent. I'm going to use a behavioral theorem or axiom to teach this. So I'm a student of psychology. I just don't practice it. And in my psychology learnings and classes, one of the things that I have learned about human behavior is a magnificent phenomenon called the choice theorems. If you do a lot of work around behavioral therapy, you must have come across what the choice theorem is. And the choice theorem has like 10 axioms. And to teach presence today, I'm going to use 3 of those axioms to teach. The first axiom talks about or says that all we do as human beings is behave. Every human being you see is either behaving or misbehaving. Every single human being you see. And the reason why they are behaving is because every human being behaves to satisfy 5 unique needs. I know you guys are wondering, what's in concern this one? Concern presence. Don't worry. You guys will understand. Every human being is behaving, right? And the reason why this is important for you to know is because every human being's behavior is purposeful, and it is tuned towards the satisfaction of the human's 5 basic needs. survival, belonging, power, freedom, and fun. You can watch the recording later and get those things or read up on it. And if you do not understand that every human being is behaving, you will struggle to build what is called gravitas. Let me continue by asking this question. When you look at the mirror every day, what do you see when you look at yourself? Do you see a person trying to survive? Or do you see a person living in peace? Remember, we started with perception. Your gravitas begins from a place of self-image. It is from within. It is not like appearance that you put upon. Your gravitas begins from within, and I'll explain what gravitas is, right? It begins from within. It begins with a healthy self-image. It begins with a healthy self-esteem. For those of us that are parents, I want to beg us. The legacy that you can give to your children is not education. It is self-esteem. People are suffering today. People are timid. People cannot achieve their dreams because they have a terrible or a poor self-esteem. So you see an average man walking and his back is bent. You see somebody talking and they cannot have a conversation. They are timid. They are shy. It's because they have a poor self-esteem. So the best way, or the very first foundation in building gravitas, is understanding that I matter. I am a phenomenon going somewhere to give goodness. And we know we have all those many self-affirmations that we say. And we can say all of that eventually as we go, right? But the foundation of gravitas is self-image. Now, what is gravitas? Gravitas is the combined effect of variables that signal to the world that you are a real deal, a heavyweight in your field and in your organization, and someone that is being worthy of followed. Have you noticed that everywhere Tony Elumelu enters, gravitas follows? If you don't know Tony Elumelu, if you see him in real life, immediately you will make assumptions that this is somebody that I can trust. I'm sure you guys know that Tony Elumelu is not one of the most eloquent speakers. Do we know that? But when you see him, you experience a presence, you experience his gravitas. You know I can trust this guy. The way his shoe is looking, the way his suit is looking, I'm jumping the gun, but the way he looks, this guy, the way he's positioned, the people he carries are, this guy, I can trust him. That is gravitas. You meet Sam Obafemi and I always sing Sam Obafemi's praise because, maybe not because I'm one of his boys, but I used to say this, Sam Obafemi schooled me like it was when I lost my dad, Sam Obafemi was one of the fathers that he said, whether you like it or not, to this boy, you will get sense. I was in school when I met Sam, Coach Sam. When you encounter Coach Sam, you encounter gravitas. There's just something, there's a presence they give that you just know that this person, I feel like I can trust you, even before they speak. Now, what are the variables that make up gravitas? I'm rushing. This is usually a whole day's training where we'll sit down and we'll do an exercise in class and people will look at other people and give perception and say, when you came into the class for the first time, how did you perceive this person? But we can't do that online, right? So let's just run through it. There are 6 different things that make up your gravitas. The first one is your confidence and your grace under fire. When you are pressured, how do you react? When someone is rude to you or someone doesn't respect you, how do you behave? And on the right-hand side, you see the ranking that men and women give them. So for men, we expect that their confidence should be at a 79%. Sorry, at a 70. For women, we expect their presence is felt when their confidence level is at a 79%. That's one way to interpret this data. Another way to interpret this data is that women, how do I put this? Women take into consideration out of 100, 79% when they meet a person with presence. For men, it's 76% that matter. The next thing is decisiveness. How easy do you make decisions? Can we come to you on your feet and say this is happening and you can give us decision in the moment? How quick can your brain work? How quick can you put together? How quick can you think in systems? It's called systemic thinking, not strategic thinking, systemic thinking. How quick can you think about a problem on your feet and generate solutions that would not affect existing variables? That's decisiveness. The next one is integrity. Are you a person of your word? But integrity goes beyond being a person. Also, can we meet you as yellow? Go for 3 years and come back and still meet you as yellow? Are you stable? Then there's emotional intelligence. There's reputation and pedigree, and then there's vision. I'm rushing. Sorry, please. We can always have a conversation after this. Before I continue, can you guys tell me what you've learned so far? Man, I've done 22 minutes. Can you tell me what you have learned so far? You can just put, it could be one word, it could be a sentence, it could be a line. Just put it in the chat. This is a learning check period for me to know I have been communicating and not just, speaking. Please put it in the chat. Have you learned? What have you learned so far? Abdullah says perception is key. Okay. Ashati says gravity is key. Be intentional about it. Excellent. Happening now. Tawfiq says improving your self-esteem. Awesome. Coach Beam says that perception of my executive presence is a key consideration for me as a leader. Awesome. Amazing, amazing. Chidi says, I learned that self-awareness and image are important. Your presence determines your worth. Maybe not entirely, but your presence can influence how people will perceive your work. Perception about self is key. All right, we are learning. I mean, we don't learn everything in one class, but it's good. I want to. So that's that about gravitas. Let me do a quick recap. For gravitas, you can take a screenshot of this. These are the 6 areas that your gravitas are made up of. So these are the 6 things you need to start working on if you don't have them yet. You can do an honest scale of 1 to 5. Do a Google form. You can write, on a scale of 1 to 5, rate me as a confidence person. Rate me as someone who is decisive. And share with your family and friends. Share with your colleagues. That will give you a real life, that's what we call an analysis. It will help you know how people perceive you, how people perceive your gravitas. Because you can say I am a confident person, but when you give out that form and people feel it, you realize that, nah, people don't think you are confident. And people don't think you are confident, you're already losing money. Right? So I encourage us to put this in a Google form and share with our colleagues and just get feedback. People can rate us 3, people can rate us 2, people can rate us 4. And then we know that the goal is 5 and you just begin working on it. So before you start working on it, you need to analyze and know areas where you need to improve and then improve. That's an actionable step for this part of the training. Now let's talk about another axiom. The second axiom in the choice theory is the axiom that says all we can give another person is information. So the first one is every human being is behaving. All human beings do for the rest of their life is behave. The second axiom says that all we can give another person is information, right? And what does this mean? You can give information in two ways, via your words, and that's communication, and via your appearance. Do we now see how these axioms literally relate to building a presence? The first one that says that all everyone does is behave talks about gravitas. The second one that says all we can ever give people is information talks about your communication and your appearance. Now let's deal with communication. I like to share this story when I teach this class. And it's the story of the lion and the tiger. People always fight and say, why is the lion the king of the jungle? Have you seen the tiger? The tiger is bigger. The tiger is this. Folklore has it that one day the lion and the tiger were drinking at a stream. And then the tiger looked at the lion and said, what is wrong with you? Why are you always making noise? You will just be shouting and roaring in the jungle. You go your round, everybody go your run, go hide. Why? Why are you always disturbing the jungle? The lion looked at the tiger and with a twinkle in his eye, told the tiger, you don't understand. I am not making noise. They call me the king of the jungle because I advertise. Guys, one of the reasons why we are not picked for things is because we are not giving information to the world that I can do this thing. We're not giving information to the world through our words and through our behavior, through our words, through our behaviors, and through our appearance that I can do this thing. If a lion roars, everybody knows he is around. That's presence. What information is your presence giving people? Through words. Because we're dealing with communication now. Again, I've made this to look like a 45-minute session. So please bear with me if I'm rushing. The goal of every effective communication is persuasion. The men that sell in this class will tell you, in our community will tell you that selling is persuasion. I like to define selling as proving to another person or proving to the customer that what the customer will get from you is 10 times more than what he's giving you money for. That is sales. So the goal of effective communication, a communication is effective if that communication has persuaded the people that are listening to you. So you've not effectively communicated to the audience. If you tell them to stand up and people are still sitting down, you've not effectively what? Communicated. So when you speak, every statement you speak should persuade people to buy into what you are saying. Don't waste your words as a leader. Even when you are cracking jokes, let the jokes be that you want them to see you in a kind of light. There are aspects of our human life that are so powerful that we underestimate their power. Words are one of the most powerful gifts you can have. In my communication classes, when I'm teaching communication, I tell people that words are like bullets that, if properly shot, will always hit the targets. And there is a way to speak. In ancient Greece, one of the things we've lost in these modern times, the ability to speak. When we see people speak now, we feel like, why is this guy speaking too much English? No. Have you heard the black men of old speak? Have you listened to speeches by Martin Luther, by Malcolm X, by the black men of those generation? The last black man that has spoken with that level of effectiveness that I know is Obama. Men have lost the ability to speak that the world will listen. And it's because we've lost the hidden art of rhetoric. Rhetoric is the study and the art of writing and speaking persuasively. Again, it may look like I'm calling Sam's name, but Coach Sam will speak and you will just listen. There's some of us here, I don't know us personally, but some of us who have this gift that when you speak, I know for once that when I speak, people listen. Right? And rhetoric is the art of ruling the right minds of men. Plato was one of the world's best public speakers. And he defined rhetoric which is the study and writing of speaking persuasively, as the way you can rule the minds of men. Check it. Every man that ruled the world was a great spokesman. Every man. Especially in the old days. It was needed because you needed to take people. And there are three things that make up effective communication. Wow, time has gone. One of them is ethos. The second one is pathos. And the third one is logos. Again, I can't delve into this, but I'll just touch on it a bit. These are the three ways you can speak. Irrespective of what your goal is, ethos, pathos, and logos allows you to speak in a way that is persuasive. Now, Aristotle, the student of Plato, went on to break down what rhetoric is. And he said the three modes of persuasion when you're speaking or when you're writing. So when we say words, it's either speaking or writing, but primarily speaking, is through ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos means that when you speak, you are trying to speak in such a way that you want people to buy into your trust. You want people to trust your credibility and character for them to be persuaded. That is what ethos means. So the conversation is centered around yourself. You're speaking about your credibility. You're speaking around your character so that people can look at that and do business with you. Pathos means that you are speaking to appeal to the emotions of your listeners through their values and their interests. So this mode of communication is that you are speaking, but you're not speaking about yourself. You're speaking about the people listening to you. And they are going to be persuaded because you are talking to them. You are talking to their values, to the things that interest them. And the final way is what we call logos, which is you are speaking to appeal to context. So you're speaking from a place of context, and you're teaching or talking through intelligence and well-constructed ideas. I will give us example because I'm very actionable in my teaching. So like the first one that I did, this one, there's something you will do too that will help you learn it. Let's take an example. This is how it works. An example of ethos is this. Me saying, guys, pay for my executive presence coaching because I am a style advisor who has close to a decade experience doing this for others with optimum results. So I'm trying to convince you to buy into me by speaking about my credibility. Do we see how ethos works now? Some of us, this is how we speak. Again, none of this methodology is bad. There's just one that is better, but none of them is bad. Logos, which is speaking in terms of context and well-constructed ideas, is me saying something like, pay for my executive presence coaching because it is a less expensive way I can help you project your expertise and leadership to the world. So you can see that I'm playing into your intelligence to see that if you pay for my coaching, it is lesser, it's less expensive for me to help. It's a less expensive way for me to help you. And then finally, pathos. Remember that pathos is us talking is us speaking in such a way that we are appealing to the values, the interests of the people we are speaking to. Look at me speaking about this same thing in pathos. Please pay for my executive coaching or I will lose my accommodation. For it is the surest way I can pay for my house rent without stealing. Quick question. If I speak to us in any of these three manners, which one do you think will persuade you the most to give me your money? You can make, again, there's no right or wrong answer. It just helps you to see that everybody is different, right? Okay, Coach Wim says ethos, Ashati says ethos, Maria Gloria says logos. Tega says logos. Raphael says ethos new. Now, do we have see how important it is to know how to talk? Because these things build our presence. Imagine you are standing in front of your staff and you are speaking to them and you are using pathos to speak to them. They'll be wondering that, how did they do this our Ghana? Why our God they beg us? This man don't get confidence, so what did they worry about? But when you speak with ethos, they know that Oga don't come, yes. Because but then let's not miss it. This is not bad. If you're speaking to your child, remember presence. If you're speaking to your child, you don't want to speak to your child using ethos or logos. So you don't want to speak to your child using ethos or pathos. You want to speak to your child using logos. Because the children of these days are very intelligent. And you have to appeal to their intelligence. You have to contextualize what you are saying so that they can understand. So depending on the audience, right? Depending on the audience. For instance, if you are speaking to your wife where you don't vex, you know if you use ethos talk. You know if you use logos talk. Now pathos you go use talk. Babe, I beg, no vex. Now reason why I do and be this. So the situation determines how you will speak. I hope we're learning something. Because for some of us, we just speak one way. We don't think of the other way. Now that's that about words. Let me talk about appearance. Because remember, the axiom we're using to teach these variables of communication and appearance is the axiom that says all we can ever give everybody or anyone is information. If you think deeply, the wealth you have today came because someone told you something. Every success you've enjoyed today came as an information. So all you can ever give anybody truly in this life is info. If you give them money, right, it's not going to be as powerful as information to change their behavior. Because you cannot give people money to change their behavior. You can only give them information that will change their behavior. And remember, your presence is you want to alter people's perception to see you as a kind of person so that they can behave in a way you want them to behave. That's the whole essence of executive presence. You want to sit at the board table and everybody's hand is on the decks. Everybody knows that this guy is here and we cannot just talk anyhow. So you are conditioning the behaviors of people with your presence. That is why we are using a behavioral theorems or axioms to teach this presence. Again, I tell you, most of my classes, the things I teach, you can't Google them and find them the way I put it. Because it's like bringing so many things, psychology and so many other things together to teach you. So please, if you have some time, watch this video again. Because you will not get it at once. All right? Let's talk about appearance. I usually teach this, that when people meet you for the first time, they have to answer two questions. When people see you for the first time, without opening your mouth, they have to answer two questions. Can I trust this person? Can I respect this person? The answer lies in how you look. So you remember when I was speaking about the variables of appearance, gravitas, and communication? And I said that gravitas is the most important. Is the most competent. Do we remember I said that? And I've showed us why it's the most competent. Because it is what will sustain your presence. But your appearance is the most important. Because something can be competent and not be important. And an aspect of your life can be important, but it's not the competent part of your life. Right? When people meet you, they want to ask, can I trust this person? Can I respect this person? I give it to you that the answer do not lie in how you behave. Neither will it lie in how you speak. It primarily lies in how you look first, before how you behave, then how you speak. Because when people see you for the first time, research says it takes 7 seconds. People say it takes 13 seconds. I like to stay in the middle. It takes 10 seconds to make first impression. When people see you for the first time, it just takes them 10 seconds to make a judgment about you. And they do it systematically. They just look at you from down up. Just look at your shoe first. Look at your trouser or your skirt and look up and look down and say, I can't trust this person. How many times have we tried to sell things and they look at us and we wonder why they are not buying? And then they buy from our colleague that is selling the same thing. Okay, it's not what you are selling that they were buying. It is your person. You didn't look like someone that was worthy of selling. In sales classes, I teach that the satisfaction of the customer associates the satisfaction of a product to the appearance of the salesperson. If you come and sell real estate to me and your shoe is open, there is amala soup on your tie, there's begri on your tie, I won't give you 5 naira because you don't look like the thing that you are selling. That is why I see a lot of people selling real estate and you have not paid attention to your appearance. You know if you sell. It is not juju. You cannot sell because you don't look like what you are selling. You don't look like the wealth that you are telling me I will have. You can be shouting, come and buy land in Epe, come and buy land in Epe. I will not buy land because you don't even look like someone that I can trust with 10 naira. Why will I give you 2 million or 10 million and pay instrumentally? No, I can't do that. Be going. This is why your appearance is important. I've lived for a while on earth to know that half of the time, people respect me without me opening my mouth. People want to make friends with me when I enter a space. People stop and stare without opening my mouth because I look like someone that should be respected. So there are several times I will enter offices or I will enter the bank and people will be wondering, is this guy from CBN? Why is he looking this way? Is this one of the spies that they've sent to come and meet us? I have a motto in life: never to be caught on fresh. Never. It is my personal motto because I know how much life and how much favor and how much things I've enjoyed because of the perception that people have about me because of the way I look. I say that the clothes you wear, the clothes you wear and how you groom yourself will change the way other people hear what you say. Okonjo-Iweala is one woman I respect, not just because she's competent, but because Okonjo enters a place and everybody will stop and stare. Apart from her gravitas, the way she just looks, she looks like royalty. It wasn't surprising for me to know that she's actually a princess. I think she is, yeah. From the hair tie. So you see that dressing is not suit and tie. Neither is it kaftan. Dressing comes from the first thing we talked about, gravitas. Your self-image. If you don't see yourself as a king, you cannot dress like a king. There's this Yoruba proverb that says, "Oh, le ri omoba, komari dan shaki obalare." It means that you cannot see a prince and not see the glory of the king around the prince. Let us stop dressing like paupers. Let us stop dressing like associates. We are leaders. If we are going to change the world and make people follow us, then we need to look like people who have our life, who have changed our own lives. Let us stop saying, "Oh, because I'm going to the mall, let me just wear slippers." No. I'm going to the office. This is my work. There is a way I must look. I can't be teaching my staff to dress well and I don't dress well. I can't go and see a customer and my shirt neck is slacked. Sometimes I carry extra clothing in my boots. I have box of perfumes in my car. The times I go for events, I have walked around, I go to my bag, take a perfume bottle, go to the restroom, spray myself and come back. Now, they don't teach this to men. They teach this to women a lot. That's why you see a lot. It's very rare to see a woman that is dirty. Or a woman, in fact, it's an anomaly to see it. It's very common to see men that cannot dress well or that don't take care of their appearance. You're growing braids. The braids are not well trimmed. How much is bed oil? I want to beg us leaders. It is the most important thing you can have as a leader. There's a reason your pastor dress well. There's a reason the imam wears his regalia. There's a reason. There is no successful person in the world that does not have a uniform. The United States president will wear blue suits, navy blue suits, and white shirt with red tie consistently to show the world their flag. There's a reason Buhari will wear his agbada and his pillar It would always remind you that I'm from the north. There's a reason Tony Omelu always wears that red tie. Passion. He must communicate to the world, I'm passionate about Africa. What is your logo? What is your uniform? Footballers wear uniform because when they dress in a certain way, they believe that we are together. And so if you wear the uniform of your team, when I mean uniform, I don't mean everybody's wearing white, you're wearing white. I'm saying when you dress in a certain way, it even builds unity in the team. You're going to, I used to say this. You work in the bank, for instance, you're trying to, my time is up, so I think I'll just end here. I mean, there's still quite a lot to go, but let me end here. I mean, we can always have a conversation later. Let me end with this. If you are going to change the world, you need to be able to command attention and respect and shape opinions in your favor when people see, hear, or interact with you. And the easiest way you can do this is when you commit to building what is called an executive presence. Everybody has an executive presence, but not everybody's presence can command attention on arrival. There's still a lot to say, but at the moment, I will stop here and take questions because I also know that the whole webinar has been timed. So please, if you have questions, now will be a very good time to ask them. Thank you very much, Sobka, for having me. Thank you very much, Seka, for having me.
Mr. Gabriel Balogun, is this the gospels you wanted to give us today? Thank you so very much.
I'm a very passionate speaker, so
it was amazing. I love it. Have you done any Thursday meeting? Have you done any Thursday meeting at all?
Yeah, I've taken a class on personal branding. I think I've taken 2 classes actually.
Have you this particular thing that you have done here today? Have you done it? This gravitas? Have you done it?
No, I've not.
Excuse sir. You need to come in, sir. So that we will have you a full day where you can give it to us hot as the hot. I love it. I'm glad that I was in here today. So we have a few questions. The first person is, I think, Mr. Ralph Obafemi. Coach Ralph wants to ask a question. I think he raised his hand. So you're going to mute the mic and ask your question, sir.
Thank you. Such an amazing GB. It's such a pleasure to hear you. Coach Tiger, thank you so much for this session. This is lit. And
everybody, I think you should just drop your favorite emoji before we continue with this question. Just because I'm seeing, just drop something in the chat room.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay, you can go ahead, Coach Ralph.
All right, here's my question. Yeah. Where do you mix executive presence and humanity? Where is the mix? Yes.
Merge or mix?
Yeah, merge. The meeting point between executive presence and humanity. Phrase another way, does executive presence take away your humanity, and how do you merge it?
Okay, so I think that executive presence shows the world your humanity. Again, if you don't remember, I started by saying everything is rooted in the right self-image. If you have the image of I am here to help, if the perception you have of yourself is I want to meet people, I want to leave people that I've met better than I met them. This will impact how you talk to them. This will impact how you look when you speak to them because you want them to trust you. This will impact those 6 primary things that build up your gravitas, your confidence level, your assertiveness, your what are those things again? Your confidence level, your decisiveness, your integrity, your emotional intelligence, your reputation, your vision. You just know that I want to help this person. And so your presence would always communicate that your humanity to them. So I believe that that's the meeting point. I would say that it starts from how you perceive yourself and what it is that you want to give to the world. And then you begin to communicate that across the three variables that make up your presence. Does that help?
I hear you very well. Very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach Raf. I think I saw a question in the chat. Can I read it out, Madam Tega?
Yeah, yes, please. Oh, let me just read it out.
View, I think.
There was one earlier. There was
I think it's Victoria Osakwe.
Yes. Okay, let's read this Coach Beam's own first, and I'll find it. Pastors is length of dancing on that's not the one. There was a question somewhere. Okay, practical steps for a woman to increase executive presence while maintaining femininity. That's a question.
This is a very interesting question. It's so interesting because the executive world, and I will say this carefully, there is a level of should I call it masculinity? There is a level, again, I strongly believe that men and women have both what we call masculine and feminine traits. I strongly believe that every man and woman has it, right? I think that I might not be able to give practical steps on the call. Actually, I might not. But I think that one way to increase your executive presence, especially as a woman, is to dress like the future that you have for yourself, one, and let the dressing be layered on a confidence that cannot be shaken. Hey. So let it be layered, let the way you look be layered on a confidence that cannot be shaken, and know your stuff. See, anybody that knows their stuff already steps in the room. What now gives you an edge is the confidence to communicate that I know this stuff. When you are in meetings and they are speaking and men are discussing and men are dropping opinions, raise your hand and say, I have an opinion. And speak in such a way, use ethos to speak in such a way that they cannot gainsay what you are saying. It may be a bit tough, yes, because the executive world now, we are still just accepting what inclusivity is, right? But some organizations are given preferences, depending on where you find yourself, they're giving preference. Long is the time where human resources is relegated to women alone. Now, women are becoming CEOs. Women are becoming general managers. And those women can become it because of competence. The New Access Bank Group CEO is a woman. Sure, you know.
Yes, sir.
So there is a competence that they carry. There is a confidence that they show. And their appearance do not make them look less of what is required in the executive world. Yeah. I say this, you don't have to show skin to have a seat at the table as a woman. You don't have to show skin. You can come to the office fully cladded and they know that this Oga don't come, right? Solid. I think Vio's question was, do you think that appearances can also be deceptive? Yes. It's one of the most deceptive things that mankind created, which is why you must use it as a weapon. Your appearance is one of your weapons that you must wear. It's the weapons you use to shape opinion in your favor. Your appearance is a weapon you use to shape opinions in your favor. If you come to me and you show me skin as a woman, you're already telling me that what you are giving me is your body. Remember how you can give people is information. If you come to me as a woman and you're not showing me skin, but you are speaking in such a way, and I'm like, the information you're giving me is different. Same thing with men. The reason why some men are still single is that they've not shown enough presence to the woman that, see, I can take care of you. You can be secured with me. So we come off to our women as weak. We come off to our women as, well, I'm just there, Jerry. I'm a very sensitive man. Nobody says you shouldn't be sensitive. Right? So always dress with the impression to, and like I didn't finish my slide out, I've showed us how to dress for those things. But always dress, maybe on the Thursday class, I can do that, but always dress with an intention, with an intention to show the world that this is who I am. Let what people see on the outside be what you are on the inside. Right? And then that would shape opinions in your favor. Again, a typical example, you can't sell real estate and look like someone who is not wealthy, because what you are selling in real estate is not land. What you're selling in real estate is wealth. So you need to look like wealth to sell wealth. That is why private bankers in the world are one of the best, investment bankers are one of the best dressed people in the world. Because they are managing your wealth. Right? Thank you. Imabong just confirmed what I said. She said the new Access Bank Arrowhead was always full of confidence, even as a secondary school student, far back in the 80s at Federal Government Girls College. Confidence. It is one of the primary things that leaders must have. I think Maria Gloria says there is a thin line between exerting appearance or executive and arrogance. I don't really get the question, but is there a thin line between exerting, appearing, or, well, I guess what you're trying to say is there a thin line between exerting like your presence or appearing like arrogant? Again, arrogance is, how do I put this? Arrogance is confidence without emotional intelligence. That's what arrogance is. When you see a confident person that lacks EI, that person, you may interpret that person as arrogant. Because even though he's confident, he speaks to you without understanding the environment, understanding himself, and understanding you, because that's the condition of EI. So, because, I mean, arrogance is, you know, you cannot do something, you are saying you can do it. That's arrogance. But that's not confidence. But confidence, someone that is confident and has EI knows that I cannot do this thing, but is not afraid to communicate and say, I cannot do this thing now, but I can learn it in another 1 week, right? So yeah, I feel like that's all the question. Thank you again, guys, for having me. It's always a pleasure to show up at.
It was just an amazing session. We love it. Thank you so very much, sir. One thing that stood out for me, and I've heard it before, is never be caught on fresh. It is a motto for 2024. That's, as you said it, I just remembered my glasses and I went to break. Never be caught on fresh. You have to actually just, they say you can never outperform your self-image.
Yes, you can't.
Itself is how you would actually, that's what you're expecting. Thank you so very much, sir. We really appreciate you. Thank you for the question. Mary Gloria, we've run out of time. Our second speaker is in my hand.
You can send me a message, Gloria. You can send me a message.
Okay, so Mr. Jimmy, I will be in your DM very soon because we need to get you back in and all of that. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Awesome. That was such an amazing session. And we're going right into the next session. There is no break because we are far behind schedule. So, Titilope Ojo is a highly experienced professional with 22 years of expertise in private, public, and international development sector. She has worked on various agricultural value chain and rural development projects for organizations like UNDP, IFDC, FCDO, and USAID. Titi has served as a key advisor on the Two-Scale project funded by the Dutch government and played a significant role in supporting business ideas that combine commercial and development goals. She's currently the National Coordinator for the Nigerian Standards Partnership Program, funded by the UK FCDO and implemented by the British Standards Institute. The Standards Partnership supports Nigeria in improving its quality infrastructure and enhancing the operationalization and improvement of the approved National Quality Infrastructure Policy. Titi has received recognition for her contributions, including the Hubert Humphrey Fellowship from the US government. She has a diverse educational background, including a Fulbright scholarship, and is currently pursuing a doctoral program at UNICAF University. Titi is also a certified ISO lead auditor for the quality management systems, food safety management systems, and environmental management systems. She is a certified project management professional with keen interest in SME development, agricultural value chain, non-oil exports, trade policy, and business environment reforms. Titi is the Chief Executive Officer of AgriChains Consult Services Limited, a company that specializes in market research, agri-business advisory, and capacity building for export-oriented SMEs. She's a professional speaker, trainer, and business coach. Welcome with me, Mrs. Titi Elat Ojo. You have the floor. Kindly go ahead.
Hello.
Bio is very intimidating, but we're all right.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, ma'am.
Okay, and I'm seeing some comments in the box. Well, am I smiling? I don't know why. Today, my voice is a bit blurred. I hope I'll do some justice to this. This morning, I'll be speaking to us on export readiness. I can share my screen, right? Let me see if I can do that. Can I share my screen? Let's see. Okay.
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So this morning I have a very interesting topic to speak about, and that's export readiness. For some of you that already know me, I do have export readiness masterclasses, and there's a reason why I have focused a whole lot on export readiness, really, because many SMEs, individuals want to go into export, and they just want to jump right in without building their capacity for it, or getting the knowledge that it requires. And so today, I'll take you on export readiness because that's where the journey starts. I'm going to be talking about like 6 core areas. I don't have a limited time, and I'll be very fast. Why is export important? I'm going to show you prohibited exports from Nigeria. So you also know that there's some exports that are prohibited from this country. And I'm going to be talking about key factors for sustainable exporting. I'm going to run you through the export readiness checker. That checker, I'll be very skeletal about it, but you can always take the check on NEPC website. I'm going to talk about services export, and then talk to you briefly about the export readiness masterclass in case you are interested in participating. Just before I jump right into my session, because I'm about to jump right in, I want to thank everyone that's been able to join this call. And I also want to thank the OSP, that's Octopus Speakers School, for this opportunity. It's a great place to be, honestly, it's a great place to be, and I'm happy to be sharing my thoughts with you this morning. So why are exports important? It's important because it offers people more markets for their goods. That's important. And of course, we can also earn foreign exchange. So in the chat box, how many of you want to earn foreign exchange? You want to earn dollars, euros, and pounds right now? If you want to earn foreign exchange, let me see you say yes. At a time in Nigeria where Naira has lost so much value, there's no better time to consider export, trust me. When the dollar is now almost 2,000, so I'm saying yes, so with all your hands up, right? So increased FX earnings. And when we're talking about FX earnings, for the individual, for the organization, and for the country, we're talking about the country not even able to meet its FX demands. Export is the key, is a way out of this. Export fosters economic growth through trade. Because when you talk about export, you have to talk about import. trade to be balanced. So while we export to countries that need our products, we can also import from countries that have products that we need. And it can help countries negotiate trade terms. So export is very important, very important. Now, let me ask a second question. Why do you want to export? It's the question. Somebody say, yes, I want to export. What do you want to export? Let's see that in the box. What do you have? Or what do you want to export? Can I see you type that in very quickly? Yes. What do you want to export? Type that quickly. At least I've heard from some of you want to export. Okay, I want to make good money. Good. But what do you want to export? Yes. Does any one of us here have products, services? So someone says agro products and textiles. Oh, someone said abacha, foodstuffs. Okay. I almost said abacha. Then I saw that it's abacha, which is foodstuff. Someone said my craft. Excellent. Let's see. Sesame seed and achar. Wow. So we have quite a number of us that want to export one thing or the other. Someone said textiles, and that's important. Textiles, that's a very big market in the US. Under AGOA, people export textiles. I'm also an AGOA advisor, by the way. And for those that want to export textiles to the US, for example, you have duty-free exports. There are a lot of waivers on textiles. Anyway, someone said ginger. Excellent. So I see that quite a number of us also have what you want to export. I love that. Agri-product, oil palm product. Beautiful. So let me move on. So most of us want to export because we want to earn FX. Of course, it's part of it. We want to expand our markets. And then when I said, what do we want to export? I see some of us also listing the things that we have to export. And I'm happy to read that from you this morning. So what can be exported? You can, oh, I love this, ready to wear. Excellent. Of course, you know that for ready to wear as well, there are standards. I'm going to be talking about that. So what can be exported? You can export products, and you can export services. In Nigeria, we focus a lot on products, but there's a big market for services. In fact, it's a low-hanging fruit that we also feel that the country should tap into very seriously. And you'll see why. So we have products and we can export services. Remember that I said I'm going to show you what's prohibited from Nigeria. If you go to the Nigerian Customs Service website, this is a list that you find there. Maize, it's against the law of Nigeria that you export maize, export timber, rough or sawn. So some of, the reason why also climate change issues, environmental laws all over the world. We're trying to prevent our trees from being cut down, okay? So timber is part of it. So also the export of charcoal, there's been a bit of a challenge with that too. Raw hides and skin, scrap metals, unprocessed rubber latex and rubber lumps, artifacts and antiquities, wildlife animals classified as endangered species and their products, e.g. crocodiles, elephants, lizards, eagles, monkeys, and any wildlife animal they can put in this category. Also, there's been a campaign against the export of pangolin. Pangolin is also an animal. It's in the woods, it's in the forest. And people export that. They export the skin of that animal because some use it for juju in some countries, voodoo, and all sorts. And the skin is also good for shoes. So wildlife animals classified, yes, and any of their byproducts too is also part of those things that we don't encourage export. Then all goods imported cannot be exported. You can't import a good and say I'm exporting and you say it's coming from Nigeria. It's not coming from Nigeria. You just imported them. So it's understandable that all goods imported are not exportable, okay? Now, I really need to talk about this. There are three major factors for sustainable exporting. One is quality. The quality of your export is important. The next is quantity, which speaks to volumes. So imagine someone tells you, I need achar, but I need 10 tons of achar. And they specify to you what the quality he wants. and he wants 10 tons. If you don't have 10 tons, it's impossible to satisfy that order. And that's why quantity is important. The person requesting for acha wants it at a certain quality. He probably wants it at a certain moisture content and certain other factors. And then pricing. It's possible that the person ordering from you or whoever you're working with in that other market is reselling, whatever way. Always note that that product may probably be in that market already. So you also have a price competitiveness. You have to compete in the same market. And when you're competing in that market, you're competing on quality, you're competing on the volumes you can send in within the time frame that is requested, and you're competing on price. So you need to look at these three things. They're very important in your export journey. So if you want to go into export, you do your market survey, and you get to understand what the market wants. Are you ready to satisfy the need of that market based on these three things? Imagine someone requests for acha, then they request for it next month, and you say, sorry, I don't have that supply. I cannot supply you. The person moves on to somebody else, and you lose your market straight away. So always understand that these three things count: quality, quantity, and price. I hope you got that. If you're following me right now, type yes in the box. I want to be sure that I have everyone following me. You're following me loud and clear. You're taking your notes, and I see you type yes. If this is making sense to you right now, type yes. I'm seeing a few yeses already. Raphael, I can see you. Quality, quantity, and price. Never forget that. Now, quality is relative as well. When it comes to quality, you have different grades. But you know what? The buyer is king. Whatever the buyer wants is what you should supply. He wants that quality because he's willing to pay for it. So if you supply below that quality, or even above that quality, you may have a problem in terms of pricing. They're all related. Never forget. So let me take you now through the export readiness checkup. And as I take you through this, I want you to write down what you score yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you take the export readiness checkup, it's more like scoring yourself on the level of knowledge that you have about these different components of export. At the end of the day, if you're below 5 or even below 3 or 2 on any of the things I'm going to show you, you need to be in an export readiness masterclass. If indeed you want to export, then you need to get the knowledge and the mentorship and the hand-holding. Many times, people that need to export make a lot of mistakes because they do not take cognizance of these things I'm going to show you. So I'm going to take you through an export readiness checker, but let me also say that you also have an export readiness checker on the Nigeria Export Promotion Council website. And if you have some time, you can go through that too. These are mine own, I designed this checker at some point. And here you're going to rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10. So let's go. The first question is your company. If you want to go into exports, you must have a registered company, by all means. I've had those reaching me. There was a time a lady reached me and said she wanted to go into export. And I asked her, do you have a registered company? She doesn't have a registered company. Well, it's obvious you must register a company because nobody wants to deal with you as an entity that has no identity in your country in the first place. Traceability is also very important, okay? So is your company registered with CAC? If it is a 0, then you need to register a company, okay? Then is your company registered with NEPC? Because for exporting in Nigeria, there's a certificate, an exporter certificate, and that is gotten from NEPC. And you can do that also on the NEPC website. You can actually pay online and get your registration done and get the certificate. But you also cannot get the certificate without having a registered company, okay? Now the checks that I'm going to be reading out to you, there are a lot, but I've only highlighted those I'm going to talk about in red. So focus on the ones in red, okay? The ones in red on this page is your company registered, and are you also registered with NEPC? I'm not going to deal with the other questions. I'm going to send this to you, okay? I told Chima I'm going to share this, and you can take time as well to go through them one by one. Check 2. How much do you know your product's potential in the international markets? This is very, very important. How much do you know your product's export potential in international markets? And how do you get to know that potential? It's through research. It's through research. So you must embrace research as an exporter, because there are lots of risks as well. As much as there are opportunities, you need to do research. It's very important. So how much do you know about your product's export potential? Very important. I remember speaking to a friend in Canada, and she spoke to me about plantain chips. Now, plantain chips is a product there that people eat a lot. And before you know it, she keeps going to the store, and plantain chips are finished. There's scarcity of plantain chips. So she's considering that we should do something on that. And I felt that was good. I also told her to do a bit of research for me in terms of, well, purchase some of those plantain chips. Yes, have the taste. Let's see. Why do people buy them? What's the packaging like? It's very important. What's the cost? It's important. So that I know how competitive I can be. I hope you know that. Those that buy products, they're particular about taste, they're particular about quality. Yes, your buyers are particular about those things. So you need to do your own research. It's very important that you have someone in that market, or you travel to that market for this assignment. There are times we all travel. Some of us have traveled out so many times, and we don't pay attention to the opportunities that we might have in these places. One of my partners, how she got into export, she traveled several years ago, and she just generally decided to sniff around what was needed in, I think it was in the US at the time. Through that whole experience, she met someone in the US that was a broker of Nigerian foods, and that's how they entered this relationship. The first supply she made to this man was 3 containers of foodstuff from Nigeria. And since that time, they've done so much together, including black soap export to the US. Shea butter, I tell you. So many times we travel, we don't look around. And where do you want to go into export? Sniff the market, sniff around. Also, how acceptable is the product in the intended market? These are questions you need to ask. Sometimes the products we're talking about is required in other forms. It probably needs to be processed into another completely different product. You need to find out, okay? And how much knowledge do you have about the cultural imperatives of your target market? These are questions you need to ask yourself. How much knowledge do I have on these things? Then let's look at the export plan itself. Number 1, how committed is your management's long-term plan to export? Are you just into export for the short term? Or just let me do one thing and it's over? Or you really have a long-term plan? How committed are you to it? Because it requires funding. It requires a whole lot. How standard is your export plan? You need to have a standard export plan. It shows you the current, present, and the future. It's important. And when you have a good export plan, it helps you also to look at your human resource. Do we have the right human resource to service this request? These are questions you have to ask yourself. Check 4, documentation. How much of documentation do you know? Procedures to export, do you know? Documentation is a key aspect of export. But documents are not complete or are not correct, you may lose an entire container of shipment, really. By the time we're confirming at the destination port, what is in your consignment. So documentation is key from both ends. But from here, you are the one exporting and the importing side. So how much do you know the procedures and steps involved in exporting from Nigeria? That's quite a number of steps involved in exporting from Nigeria. How much of this do you know? How familiar are you with the various documents required for export? And we have quite a number. In fact, it starts with the export contract. It starts with quality assurance documents that show, yeah, this is the quality certification. You need that. You need your packing list. You need your shipping documents. You need quite a number of things. You need your insurance. What's the evidence? You need to pay insurance. You have evidence of your insurance. You need your exporter's registration with NEPC. We have quite a number of documentation. So how much of that do you know? You need to begin to take care of these things. That's why this check, I brought you through this check. Check 5, logistics and freights. Many times, of course, you need a freight forwarder. You need to work with freight forwarding companies. So you need to know who are you going to work with. But the question I want to ask here is, do you know anything about Incoterms? So let me ask that question. How many of you know, have heard anything about Incoterms? Incoterms, international commercial terms. Have you ever heard of that before? That is the language of export. But if you have never heard about it, say no. If you have, just say yes. It's another topic on its own. But Incoterms are international commercial terms that tells, to a certain extent, what are the obligations of the buyer and where does the obligation of the buyer start and end? What are the obligations of the seller? Where does it start and end? It's very important. In fact, if you enter an export contract, any contracting, most of the things you'll be negotiating will be based on the Incoterms that bind that transaction. So it's important as well that you understand Incoterms. Incoterms are renewed every 10 years. So the latest Incoterm came out in 2020. Very interesting. It's printed by the International Chamber of Commerce every 10 years. Now let's go to check 6, export pricing. Pricing is a very major issue also in even your regular business. Many of us are still struggling how to price. So for export, how do I price so that you're not underpricing yourself? Many of us don't understand that there's so many things that go into your export pricing. So how efficient is that pricing strategy? How do you calculate? Let me go to this. There are so many elements in export pricing. The product cost, transportation is involved, depending on your Incoterms. If it's X works, of course, you know that the person comes to pick this in your warehouse. It's very important. If you have to ship the goods to the port, there are also costs to that. If you have to secure insurance, there are costs to that. Freight. So you need to understand. You're also even going to be paying export proceeds. You are going to be processing that with your bankers. You're going to pay logistic fees. There's quite a number of pricing elements. How do you arrive at your pricing? How do you fix your pricing? Very important. Check 7, financing. How sufficient are the available financial resources to meet your export business needs? You know, earlier I talked about 3 things. I talked about quality, quantity, and pricing as the key elements, the factors for sustainable export. So when you're looking at all of that, you need to consider, do I have the funding? If someone suddenly says, I need 20 tons of this product, do I have the kind of funds that can help me to muster all of this together within the time frame that I have? Where do I get money from? Can I get to my bank? Do I have a credit line in my bank? These are the things you have to give deep thought to. You need to give deep thought to these things. How sufficient are the available financial resources to meet your export business needs? Very important. And how well do you understand the payment options for international transactions? So when it comes to international payments, it's totally different. Of course, we have letter of credit, we have different payment terms, really. And it's important to understand that and figure out what suits this particular transaction that you are entering. Very important. Then comes the legal issues. Oh my God, the legal issues are big, they're much. So when you enter a contract in the first place, you know it's a legal document. Please get a lawyer, perhaps a trade lawyer, to look at it, to ensure that you're covered adequately in that document. Because of course, there will also be terms if you do not fulfill your own obligations. Yes, there are terms that will be in that particular document that shows that this is what we're going to do. You're paying an amount, you're refunding this. There's so many terms in your contract. So the legal issues are there. And also within the country, there are also compliance issues within Nigeria itself for exports that are going out. You need to know those things. So agri-products, for example, Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service needs to look at what you're sending out, of course. They have at their own point, they're going to issue you phytosanitary certificates to show that this product is safe and can leave the borders of Nigeria into another border. So you need to understand compliance issues. If you don't understand compliance issues, then you might also fail in the area of certification and documentation. And that in itself might be a terrible, terrible situation that you find yourself. So legal issues, take that very seriously. And how aware are you also about the legal terms or legal elements in the country that you're exporting to? I remember, what year was that? 2018. That was a cooperative from at the time. I wanted to go into export, And here we had those that were able to finance that export, which was great, individuals within that cooperative. But it was a bit late at the time to realize that we couldn't export that was, what do they call this drink? Milo. Milo was prohibited in that country. But Milo was already starched it's already in the pots. Right? The Milo was already in the container. The container has been loaded. The Milo was already in the container, like 35 cartons or 35 cartons. And then somebody also tried to put in Pomo. Imagine Pomo. And it was very difficult when the importer now said, you know what, please, can you remove the Milo and the Pomo from the container? I was like, it's not possible to remove it because the container has been stacked already. It entered the port. Everywhere is already filled. It's been filled. It's been stacked already for movement. And of course, when you see containers, I'm sure some of you see containers, they're stacked on top of each other. So why do we start looking for our own? It's not just going to work. Well, somehow, we had to figure a way around it. I won't tell you what we did, but eventually the container got there, but the container was delayed for about 2 weeks. And somehow, Providence, I won't tell you what that is, but we're just lucky by the whiskers because the entire container would have been condemned because of that Pomo that was in there. Really. So you need to also know about the importing country. What products are prohibited there? What are the food safety measurements? Okay, what's the law around that? What is prohibited? What are other legal requirements? Some countries will tell you that whoever is coming into their country must have HACCP certification. HACCP, HACCP. That is a certification. Some countries say it's not HACCP certified, they're not going to take it. Some would say, well, for this kind of product, they want to see fair trade certification. Some will say, well, you must have ISO for this kind of particular product to show that the food is safe. You must understand these things. So legal requirements are very important requirements. You must understand quality management. Okay? So I've taken you through some quick checks. And how many of you went through these checks? How many of you scored yourself? If from 0 to 10, based on the questions I've asked you right now, from 0 to 10, where are you on the scale? Yes, let me see you type. From 0 to 10, where are you on the scale? You can say 0, it's okay. It just shows you need to work, you need to get more knowledge. Yes, let me see you do that. Okay, my God, Raphael says -1. Okay, Victoria says 2. Yes, who else? How to read from at least 10 of you? I know we have 33 people on the call. Kola Taiwo says 2. Aishata says 1. Wow, we're really red 0. Imabon's red 0, like code red. Oh my God. Abel Dawa says 3. Wow. So from a scale of 0 to 10, wow. We even had a minus here. Bosa says 0. That means if you really are interested in exporting and you scored anything below 5 right now, you're in the red zone actually. So for some of you that said 0, some of you that said -1, some of you that said red 0, you're in 3 or 2, you still need a lot of work. It's important you do this check, really. Because many times people enter export with 2 eyes closed. And someone will tell you, no, I've seen this out there. Painting very flowery colors. No, this goes to this place. They tell you, bring this. At the end of the day, no money's come out. I do town hall meetings with SMEs, so I get a lot of feedback. But it's particular feedback about some women. And I wasn't aware of that when this happened, but now it's been reported to me and I'm wondering, okay, what can we do about this? They contributed their products and all of that. They put some price tags on it. This guy is in the UK. He received all of this. Of course, they sent it to him till today, 1 year plus. This is 2 years later. Neither the product or the money has come back to any one of them. So you see, there's a lot of care that needs to be taken as well. When we're talking about the markets, who is your agent? What's their track record? Can you trust them? These are key things. Now, some of us may not need to travel, but may have an agent in those countries. You need to do your background check. Your contracts with these people must be very firm. You should understand, how do I reduce my risk if I'm not the one even primarily involved in this transaction? Very important. What are the legal requirements? What could go wrong? How do I take care of that risk ahead of time? Very important. The dynamics here is totally different from what you do in your local market. Because now it's going across the borders, rules will play here, legal terms will play here, payment terms come into place. And of course comes the issue of trust. Many times, and I've seen you've seen this, trust has become a major issue for exports from Nigeria. Because also our Nigerians sometimes they cut corners with export. I'm saying this because I am a promoter of trust when it comes to business. And we need to right the wrongs. So if you want to export, you do it well, you do it right, you do the right thing. If this person says this is the quality I want, that should be the quality that you give to such a person. That's the quality you should export. Nothing short of it. There's a case study I give in some of my classes. And the case study is about someone that got a contract to supply cashew. And the market, that the Indians that wanted that import said they wanted Ogbomoso cashew. And there was a particular quality and quantity. It's Ogbomoso cashew they wanted. That's the quality they're looking for. But because this woman did not get that quantity in Ogbomoso, she decided to source from other places. So when you start thinking about that, the cashew seeds were not the same sizes. There's something called knot counts. Knot count was not the same. Quality was different because she had mixed all sorts of cashews together. She sent it that way, but she was not paid. She was not paid because that was not what was requested in the contract. No matter how hard she tries, you did not fulfill your part of the contract. So trust is important. And as much as we have some kind of trust issues out there, when we begin to look at that critically, that we do what is right, we will right that wrong in no time. Okay? So let's move to services export. And I know that for services export, some of us really don't even know anything about this. Okay? So we have the World Trade Organization. And under the World Trade Organization, we have the General Agreement on Trade in Services. They've defined the 4 modes of services export. And that is cross-border, consumption abroad, commercial presence, presence of natural persons. Why I said earlier that service export is a low-hanging fruit is because you don't need to have a product that is physical. And I'm going to show you this. So let's quickly look at cross-border supply. It takes place when a service is produced in one country or consumed in another one. So we could have legal services. I have a friend that does this in Nigeria. They do legal briefs for lawyers and cases abroad. So the lawyers here work on the legal briefs. They send it. And these briefs are used in their courts in some of the countries she works with. And they are paid in dollars. They are paid in pounds. So that is cross-border supply. Even coaching services. You can export it. You are here rendering a service, but the person at the other end is paying you in hard currency. Application, some of us, those are in digital space. You could create an app here in Nigeria, but those are using it across the borders. That's why we call it cross-border supply. Okay? You're exporting a service in this manner. Number 2 is consumption abroad. So it takes place when the services are consumed in the country where they're produced. Now, look at health tourism, education tourism. Most of our Nigerians are going to attend schools abroad. That is tourism. For the countries that are charging us all the pounds and dollars, they've decided to invest in education tourism. So we go there, we go to their schools. They're collecting our hard-earned money, right? But can we also do that in our country? Yes. The educational system works. We can have foreigners coming to school in Nigeria, as it was many years ago. Yes, our healthcare system worked so well some years, many years ago. UCH had the Saudi royals coming for health checks in UCH Ibadan in the 60s. When I heard about it, I was like, you mean? Yes, health tourism. Now hospitals, if you build good hospitals, yes, people can come into this country and we'll earn a lot. Just the same way you go out to travel, you do some tourism, isn't it? We go to different tourist sites, we pay for those things. Countries are earning through tourism. That is, the services are consumed in the country where they're produced. And tourism is a major example. I put this picture here because we have several tourist attractions in Nigeria that we have not even developed. That could be something you want to look at. You're in my calls today. You can develop something that when foreigners come in, they come there to see. You can start a tourism service. It's export. Trust me, it's export. It's consumed here on our soil. I saw this online, 10 tourist attractions in Lagos. That's a lot. I don't know how many of you know this building, but if I'm right, that's the building where Samuel Ajayi Crowther lived or something, because it should be in Badagry. I visited Badagry and I was there. And his Bible, the one he translated, a whole lot is in this building. It's a very great place. We have the Barracudas in Badagry, where they chronicle the slave trade. Some of us have not even been there at all. Foreigners probably know more about our country than us. And the same way it is the other way. Many times, we know more about the countries we go to than people that even live there. So tourism, consumption abroad, mode 2. Mode 3, commercial presence. It takes place when a service supplier establishes a presence abroad to provide services there. In this case, we have a whole lot of our banks doing this. And you can also set up a business abroad. That is commercial presence and is a form of tourism. Educational institutions can do that. Banks do it. You can set up an eatery there. So I think we have some restaurants in Nigeria. They've set up a branch in the UK or in the Bahamas or somewhere. So commercial presence is mode 3. And mode 4, presence of natural persons. In this case, this takes place when an individual is present abroad to provide a commercial service. So we have our consultants. You have to cross the border to go and give a service. Engineers do that. Trainers can do that. Yes. You could be working on a project and you have to go abroad and render that service. So it's called the presence of natural persons because it requires that a natural person moves from where they are across the border to another country to provide commercial service. So can you now see that if you're not doing export of products or goods, you can export your services. You can. Okay. And I know my time is almost up, but I want to end this without saying that regardless of whatever export you want to engage in, quality is key. Even services. If you render a service that is not good enough, very likely there will not be a repeat purchase. Very important. So also, don't promise what you cannot do. Don't promise what you cannot do. Increase your capacity to service a global client. Okay? How many of us here are built to go global? Whether your business or your services. To export, have the mindset of a global citizen. Make sure that your business is also built to go global if indeed you want to engage in export. And personally as an individual, build your capacity as well to go global because there are customers out there, international clients. You could have done your research. You know, I talked about market. You have done your research, you find an opportunity and you want to service that opportunity. Ask yourself, am I ready? That's why it's called export readiness. There's a time of getting ready. There's a time of building capacity. Very important. I won't end this without talking about the Export Readiness Masterclass. And we have about 15 modules that we take in these classes. I just had a list here. There's one also happening in March. So if anybody on this call is interested, we do this almost every quarter. We started in 2020. And we have about 15 modules, Introduction to Export Readiness, looking at market entry strategies, pricing, payment methods, export financing, Incoterms, and how do you enter export contracts, export documentation, logistics, branding and packaging, very important. Then conducting online market research. Oh my God, that is key because sometimes you might even just stumble on a client, a customer online. If you do your research well, there are places you can get a lot of information on the export potential of Nigeria. A place like the ITC, International Trade Center, you can do quite a lot of work on that website, looking at potentials in different countries to know what countries need what you have. Then we'll be talking about standards and regulatory compliance. Then we're going to be dwelling a lot on services export as well. business financing and business growth strategies. And the added benefits, we have mentors. So this has been the faculty from time that we've set up. And there is the post-training mentorship from the faculty. And I've also run a non-oil export community on WhatsApp since 2018. Right now, we have quite a number of people on that place. It's also another benefit, being a member of that community and reaching out to those in that community whenever you need help, or maybe you have a request that you don't even have. So you have people posting, I have a request for this, please, if you have this in abundance, can we talk? This is the quality I'm looking for. So it's actually been very cool, actually. I've seen people connecting. And of course, there's also rules of engagement, definitely. So I'm going to end here. I hope this has been of some benefit to this class. This is the time to hand over to the moderator. If there are questions, I can take that now. So thank you.
Awesome. We love it. I love this. I think I'm going to, I understand. Yes, thank you very much, ma'am. Can we just put our favorite emojis in the chat room if you gained anything from this? I love it very much. Thank you, ma'am. God bless you. Amazing session. Do we have any questions? Because I'm sure there are people that want to go into exports in the room. Really, we all wanted to earn in dollars when she asked that question. I saw somebody write yes, so that person, I'm sure you have questions. Okay, very detailed, fantastic, so true. I want to know more about export of legal services. That's Chidi Odo.
Okay, all right. I would address this, not legal services in particular, but I think since you have asked that question, there was a time we had a town hall on export of services, and somebody asked the question, how do you know if a service will be required of you as a Nigerian? How do you know? And my response to that will be, in some of the countries that export legal services or any other services whatsoever, or even health services or coaching services, one of the reasons why they look out to get the services elsewhere is because it's expensive in their countries. So I'm going to use the US for an example. If getting lawyers to do some legal stuff for you is too expensive, some of those organizations want to look outside America to look for competent lawyers or competent legal firms that can help them create either those briefs or documents, or help them to work with some clients within diaspora and all of that. So if that's the case, like I said, a buyer is the one that tells you, this is what I want. So first of all, you must get someone that wants to buy from you. Someone that wants to buy legal services from you, whatever services whatsoever. And you must sit around the table to discuss what they want and whether you're able to provide it. So that is what I'll say. Because when we talk about legal services, it still holds for every other service. It means that someone needs legal services. He has reached out to your country, is looking for a firm that has track record, for example, or an individual that can work with them to create certain maybe legal documents, and he has found you. And the conversation needs to hold on terms of that agreement. What exactly do you want? How much are you willing to pay for that service? At what time do you need it? What are the payment terms? What am I able to offer? What are you able to give in return? Conversation still needs to hold, so it's not cast in stone. In exports, the buyer is king. I just need to end with that. So,
awesome.
Yes.
Okay, going ahead. It's okay, man. You can go ahead.
So I saw some questions on the box. And I
was about to read that. Okay, from Pap.
Okay, do you want to read that?
Okay, it's okay. You can go ahead if you can just see them.
Okay, I keep mixing them up. Okay, maybe you should. So Raphael asked the question, right? Is that the next question?
Yes,
okay. So Raphael says, does Nigeria do price controls for export products? Not exactly. No, we don't. We don't, because, for example, no pricing is cast in stone, and it depends also on what costed you, that export costed you, actually. So very important. So if you want to do price control, it may not work, really. It may not work, because there's no straight jacket way at the end of the day. Some may have spent an amount getting his products to the port. Someone may just have worked on X works. Someone picks it from my warehouse. So it depends. So I know those things have a cost. So there's really no price control. you're able to also have a negotiation with the buyer. I think here, it is the buyer that determines the price, not the country that you're exporting from. I know there's an issue around that at some point. I think it was last year when the CBN was trying to look at this, and the exporting community kicked against it. That it's impossible to have a pricing for exports. No, because everyone has different experiences when it comes to the buyers, and the procedures can be different from a product to the next. So really, Nigeria doesn't have price control on export products, but the buyer determines that as well. Because in the course of negotiation, the buyer will tell you how much he's willing to pay. And you have to agree, is it worth it or not? I think there's someone that reached out to me at a point, they needed sesame, and there was a particular quality and all of that. But the cost, what they were really willing to pay for it, no, it was way below even the going price in Nigeria. So it wasn't attractive to me at all, because I actually reached out to some of my clients in Kano then. And by the time we did all the calculations, it wasn't going to be worth it. So we didn't do the export. It's not worth it, we can't do it. This is the minimum we can do at this time. And they were not willing to pay it, and that was it, okay? And then it says that there's sanctioned countries that Nigerians will not trade with. Well, not that I know of right now. It's only things you cannot export that there are sanctions on. And if you want to export prohibited items, of course, you know it's illegal. But there are not countries right now that I know that. No, not that I know of. In fact, we have Nigeria still exporting to Russia because Russia also has needs. Yes, so there's no sanctions, not that I know of currently. Okay? But of course, that may happen along the way, and that's why I keep saying, do your research, okay? Always do your research, always, just to be sure that the rule may have been this 1 year ago, 2 years ago. Is it still holds this? Does it still hold this year? Please always do your last minute checks. Always important, so you don't make those mistakes. Then, does Nigeria play an active role in the AFCA? Oh, well, Nigeria does, although we lost out at some point. AFCFTA, that's African Continental Free Trade Area. It even started with the Lagos Agreement. This whole thing started with the Lagos Agreement. And Nigeria was in the forefront of this negotiation, of this putting together the documentation and all of that. But at some point, we lost out on it, unfortunately. And I'm not even sure Nigeria was on the table when countries were negotiating. We joined it late, but we're actively involved. At this point, we don't even have a choice. We are actively involved now. There's something we call, if I remember now, Guided Trade Initiative. And Nigeria is part of that now, okay? We went in the first phase of the Guided Trade Initiative, but now Nigeria is going to be part of the second GTI, okay? And that is a way for us to test the markets on the African continent. And I think some SMEs have been identified to be part of that GTI. So right now, yes, Nigeria is now actively involved, although we started out late. We started out early with the Lagos Agreement, but along the way we lost it when the agreement was to be signed in Kigali. Yes, even our trade guys are on their way, they were called back. Some of you know this information. It's in public domain. But right now we're back. Even though we're late, but we have to move very fast on it. We need to negotiate to favor us. It's very important. So there's the negotiating part of this agreement. And every country needs to bring their negotiation to the table. Okay? So we are involved. Then let me see what else. Sorry, I'm losing out on this gradually, but I'm concerned of that. Let's see. Moderator, in case I can't see some questions, I only read the one from Raphael. Okay. So I've answered on Raphael. Is there any other person? Let's see. Raphael, I hope I've been able to answer your questions.
Very well. Thank you very much.
I must also quickly say here that for exports, you need to build muscles. There are lots of risk in exports. You have to build your muscles, okay? It may not work out as well in the first instance, but you need to be, if you want to build a business, it's like building a business as well. You need to build some resilience here, okay? Don't give up at the first instance. Do it right, yes. It may not bring you so much money at first. Test your market, it's very important. Just a shipment of 10 tons or even a bag. Like my cousin is in Canada. And recently she reached out to me. She needs kuli kuli, she needs yam, and she needs Zobo, those 3 things. And I'm currently working with some women in my network to get the quantity she needs, at least now, to test the market, okay? So the idea of testing the market is important. For me here, I'm trying to see the quality. I'm doing my own test at this point. I'm checking out a few things to be sure that it's good quality that is sent to her. Who knows? Now she's taking that in as samples, and the samples are going to be sold in our own shop, in our own store, and we're going to get feedback. We're going to see whether people want more of that, and then we can begin to also work more at this end. So it takes time, it takes grit, it takes determination. If you really want to really enter the export market, start with samples if possible. Now, Nigerians in diaspora are a major asset to us. For those of you that want to go into export, leverage your cousins, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters in diaspora to enter some markets. You'll be surprised at what that can get you, okay? Madam Moderator?
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so very much. Any more questions? I don't think there are any in the chat room, but we have her details. Anybody that would, in the nearest future, you might really need her. So please get her details and be sure to ask her the questions that you need directly. Thank you so very much, Ma. We really appreciate you. We know you're very busy. So
thank you, Tega.
We will not stress you. So as you will release you now, you can go on to other things. But if you still want to stay with us, we'll be glad to have you here. Thank you also very much. I think we can go on a short break now. Circuit team, are we going on a break or do we go right ahead? You can stop sharing your screen now, ma'am.
The second team will be available shortly, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we'll just go right ahead. Where Miss Nancy Oblete, are you ready? So Nancy Oblete is a marriage and relationship coach, a master practitioner of neuro-linguistics programming, a public speaker, and a teacher. She believes that the approach to marriage coaching should be holistic, taking into account financial growth, behavioral trauma, and addiction challenges, in addition to their relationship dynamics, to assist couples in having and maintaining a stable and happy home. Her teaching starts from the core, addressing the human factor and psychology. Nancy hosts the Married Panacea podcast, Rings and Rings That Bind YouTube series. She's an executive contributor to Brains magazine. Nancy is married to Francis Oblete, and the pair is blessed with 2 beautiful girls. So welcome with me, Nancy Oblete, as she takes over. Welcome, ma'am. We appreciate you. Please put your favorite emoji in the chat room welcoming her. Let her feel very welcome. Welcome, ma'am. Also, 1 minute, please. I know that we're telling people that they should please come into the chat room because honestly, anybody that is not here is missing. So please share the link to join with people out there. There might be someone you know who is going through a marital challenge. Send it out there. Let them come in. Put the link on your status. Send it to your friend. Send it to anybody you know that needs to be here right now. Thank you also very much. Miss Nancy, please go ahead. And apologize for cutting you short.
Okay, thank you so much, Tia. Thank you, OSP, and everybody.
I think your audio is a bit not very, you're not very audible right now.
Okay, can you hear me better?
It's much better. Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. So I don't know if I can share my screen.
Yes, please go ahead. I think you have been given hosting rights by now, so you can share. Yes, you can.
Okay. All right. So let me go ahead. Okay, so for some reason I'm not able to share. I guess it has to do with my Zoom connection. I don't know why. But then I'll go ahead. I want to talk about something that I think is really interesting. But before I start, probably you've been sitting for a while and it may be wise to just stretch. So get up and stretch and do some exercise. Feel good. Then we can go ahead and do this together. Okay, so I'll be speaking on understanding attachment styles and how early experiences affect conflicts in relationship. Understanding attachment styles, how our early experiences shape our conflict management in relationships. That's what I'll be speaking on today. Now, I don't know the crowd I'll be speaking to. I don't know how many of us have heard of attachment style. So if you've heard of attachment style or you know anything about the attachment theory, please can you put a yes on the chat box? And if you do not know, also type a no so that I know exactly where to start and how to proceed today. Okay, no idea. Aishat. Uvosa says no as well. Okay. I will be, but I'm going to take my time to ensure that we get to understand this concept and are able to run with it. Okay, so attachment principles actually started. The attachment theory was developed or started with John Bowlby. John Bowlby was a psychiatrist that worked with children. Now, in those days, Sigmund Freud's theory of children being spoiled by parents who were overly present, especially mothers, was the ruling factor. So when kids were sick and they were in the hospital, the parents would leave them in the hospital. Nobody stays with the child. The child is left at the hospital. They only have visiting hours. They will come for certain hours and then leave. This was the norm. This was what was operational. But Bowlby, a psychiatrist that was working with children, began to notice that the children who were left unattended to, because the parents came and left, that their health kind of improved, their general vibrancy improved just few hours after the parents left, and then it slumped back. And he began to ask questions, and that's how he discovered that attachment, that's initial child attachment, was very important. So simply put, Bowlby proposed that emotional and social development of infants was profoundly shaped by the relationship with their primary caregiver. Now, primary caregiver can be mom, or it can be somebody who the child has as the first contact. Now, people usually have primary and secondary caregivers. So for that primary caregiver, most times is the mom, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the dad or any other family members in cases where the mom is unavailable to be that primary caregiver. And so this was how attachment theory began. And then he looked at it and said there are basic needs that the child had that made this important. First of all, there was the need of survival, which was biological. Then there was also the need for physiological, which was about safety, that people felt safer, children felt safer with their primary caregivers than with any other person. If you are a parent here and you've had children, you will know that this is true, because your children want to be around you, even if not exactly you holding them. But if you take them to strange environments, they want to hold on to you more than they hold on to other people. So Bowlby began to say, children need their parents, children need their mom to be in the hospital. It is thanks to him that parents are allowed to be admitted with their children in the hospital. Before then, it wasn't. However, he now went on to develop this theory, and they did an experiment. The experiment was called the strange situation test. This was to know what kind of relationship, because some children
Another
had
question you can ask yourself in discovering your purpose is, what is it that you love to do that you do so well and people come to you for that thing?
Hello, Tega, can I go ahead?
Yes, please. My apologies for that.
All right. So they now did a strange situation test to know what kind of relationships caregivers had, because they had discovered that the relationships were different per child and parent. So what they did in this exercise was to ask mothers to come in with their children to a new environment. It was a play environment. There were toys and other things on the ground that children could play with. And then once the mothers came in, after a while, the children naturally came down from their moms and began to engage, playing with others, playing with the toys and all. Then the researchers signaled the mothers to leave the play environment. The mothers left the play environment to return later. When they left, they noticed that majority of the children became distressed. They started crying for their mothers. Some started walking around looking for their mothers and all. Then they reintroduced their mothers into the play situation. Some of the children ran and held the mothers, and the mothers held them back. And as soon as the mothers were able to console them, they were quickly consoled. And before you knew it, they came down again and engaged in play. Now, there were other sets of children who held their mothers and cried, had to be consoled. They kept crying and crying and crying and completely refused to re-engage into the play situation again. They held on to their parents and would not go back. Then there were these sets of children who immediately they saw their mothers, ran towards the mother, then got to a point and stopped, then turned back as if they were going back, but they were still crying, screaming and shouting and all. They didn't come fully, but they didn't go far. They were there crying unconsolably and all. Then there was this other set of children who, now this was the last set. They didn't cry even after the mothers left. They didn't engage, they didn't cry. There was no physical sign that they were in distress. And even with the reintroduction of their mothers back into the situation, they didn't come to even say, "Mom, welcome," nothing. They were playing as if they didn't care. However, that was not telling the full story. Those children, they were they had test machines on them, checking their blood pressure and all. They discovered that they were distressed. They had elevated blood pressures and all, but they were not engaging. They were still sitting there. In fact, they also discovered that some stress hormones like cortisol and all were found released in their system. However, they were not showing any form of distress. With that exercise, they now categorized attachment into two major categories, the secure category and the insecure category. Now, all these were done for children because as at that time, it was in children relationship that they had seen what attachment was, how children needed their parents for biological safety and for psychological safety. Not until the late 90s to the 2000s did they begin to realize that these same attachment styles and methods were also ingrained in adults, that these things we learned as children were saved in our nervous system. And when we meet love relationships, we also attach to them in the same way children attach to their caregiver. So the way we attach to our caregiver, the kind of connection we had with our caregiver, we automatically replace that caregiver with our spouses or partners for long-term relationships, attach to them in the same way and treat them exactly or expect exactly the same treatment we got from our parents. If you are following me so far and you understand what I have just shared, please put a 1 on the chat box so that I know that I'm not leaving anybody behind. We are going together. If you do not understand, please put a 0 and I'll be glad to explain. Okay, I have 1. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, okay, another one. All right, fantastic. So we are together right about now. So attachment styles were discovered that there were children who were secure. In that strange situation test, 0. Okay, so let me double back a bit, or probably in my explanation, I can mix in some things I said so that you can get a better picture for the person who said 0. Now, attachment styles were classified into 2, secure and insecure. Secure meant that these children had parents who were responsive to them. The parents had what they called an R. An R is an acronym, A-R-E. Accessible was the A. Accessible, responsive was the R, responsive, and engaged, the E. So the parents were accessible, they were engaged with their children, and they were responsive. The children could reach out to them and get a response. They didn't have perfect parents, but they had parents who, through their eyes, they saw love. Now, for a child, love is not in what we do for them. Love is how much time, attention we give to children. That's how children understand love. That's what love represents to a child. How much love I can get from you. When I call, are you there? Do you respond? Or do you wait for me to cry and get to extremes before you turn and respond to me? These things matter. And hence they discovered that those children who the parents came in, the mothers came in, held them, and after a few minutes, they were calm and they could go back into play and engagement, were secure. They had a base that said, I am important. My parents knows this, and they respond to me when I need them to. Hence, they can be close and they can also be separate from their parents. They know that they can be separate, but their parents, even though they are not attached to their parents are not living, they can trust that about their parents. That's what secure is. All these, I will look at characteristics as we come into relationships to talk about it, but just to give us a base, right? So that's the secure. The insecure group is formed, it has 4 classes. I'll explain the classes in a bit, but however, insecure is saying this person is uncertain of their lovability, as that's if there's an English like that, of them being lovable, or of the other person being trustworthy. I can trust and rely on my mother to be there for me when I need her. It means that these parents were not accessible, engaged, responsive or engaged as they are supposed to be. Not because they didn't love their children, but probably they didn't know how to meet the children, because it's possible for one parent to have 3 children and the 3 children have different attachment styles because of how they relate with their mothers. So the insecure class was classified into avoidance. Now, for that strange situation test, the avoidant, or sometimes they are called dismissive avoidant, were those kids who sat down and acted as if they didn't care that their mothers were not around, or they weren't aware that their mothers had returned. Those were avoidant. These children, in the course of growing up, would have learned through experience that the other person cannot be relied on. They are not trustworthy enough to let go, to release themselves to that person. It can be done in several ways. Parents who insist on probably performance to get rewarded. So love was withheld when you didn't perform well. The sense of worth of this child was tied somehow to how they performed. When the child cried, there were certain kinds of cry that the parents looks and say, you know what, I'm not responding to that. That is useless. You are wasting your time. You're crying, and hence I'm not responding to you. You have to be a certain way before I accept you. But sometimes we do it with men around here. We say, men don't cry. Keep quiet. You're not supposed to cry. So they doubt their own feelings. They begin to hide, repress their feelings. This is something that they take into adult relationships. This is how they become when they enter adult relationship. They become avoidant. Then there was this other class. the anxious class. The anxious class are the group of children who, when they saw the parents, held on to the parents and will not let go. I will not let you go, because if I do, you may leave. You may leave and never return. How do I know that when I leave you, you will leave me? This child essentially does not believe that they have a worth outside their relationship with their parents. Their parents means everything to them. They are working hard, seeking approval from their parents, which is also how they relate in relationships, seeking approval. When they do something, they want to check with their parents if they did it right, if they did it wrong. And depending on how the parents intervenes, they will know whether they did it right or wrong. So their acceptance was also not complete. And hence, they grow up with a deep-seated fear of abandonment, that they will be abandoned, that they are undeserving of love, undeserving of friendship, that they are not so lucky with people. And hence, when they find a relationship, they want to cling on to it as hard as possible, because it may just go and they will not find another who cares. That's the avoidance. Then the final insecure category was the disoriented, or sometimes called fearful avoidant. Now, that was the child who came halfway and then retreated, but was still aggravated, crying and all. These people are people who probably got into this place through trauma. It's a mix between being avoidant and being anxious. For these people, that's the mix. They are avoidant and they're anxious. They want to come, they want intimacy, but when they come, they don't trust it. So they ask, are you really sure you want to do this for me, or is it because I asked? So there's always this confusion in how they approach intimacy and all. So far, are we together? For the person who said, let me see if I can get your name, who said 0 initially, does this make it clear? Kola Wole, does it make it clear now? Are you with us? Do you understand where we are? All right. Okay. Yes. Thank you. I hope that Kola Wole, yes, thank you. Okay, I'm excited because I want all of us to follow. Please, you can stop me in case, I know I have a short time, but I'd rather just teach a bit and get everybody to follow than to try to finish my slides and then a lot of people are lost in between. All right, so now characteristics of the secure attachment. In the US and abroad, like Europe and all, where researches have been done, they say that 50% of the society are secure. Then we have 25% who are avoidant, 20% who are anxious, and then between 3 to 5% who are disorganized or fearfully avoidant. That's the statistics that we have. So for a long time in relationships, especially to manage marriage relationships where the relationship was in turmoil and all, there was a very little success because people didn't understand this. There were kinds of conflicts that couple would have that didn't make sense. They tried to explain it and nobody really understood what they were talking about. Because when this person talks, you say, this is a simple thing, just do this. But the solutions never work. Counseling never worked for this group of people. So eventually, a lot of people now concluded they married the wrong person, they are better off separating and all, until the knowledge of attachment style became popular, and then researchers began to look into marriages to see what is happening. So for this, comfortable with intimacy and independence, so they can be close and they can be separate. They communicate their feelings easily. They have a healthy sense of worth. And also they believe the best in people. So they also look at people with positivity. They believe that people can be nice, people can be caring. You can actually have a love partner that really cares and is there for you. Now, this healthy sense of self and others allows them to enter into the dating relationships quite easily If a relationship breaks up, they know that, okay, this didn't work, but I can still find somebody who I love, who loves me. And then they move from that into another relationship. They communicate their feelings clearly and easily. Hence, they don't stay too long unmarried. They marry fairly earlier than the other attachment styles. It's not a general that everybody who marries early is secure, but they marry earlier because they come into the dating pool, they are able to trust easily, identify characters and traits in the other person that they love, and they are able to say it easily and commit faster, so they get married. Now, concerning intimacy, they are comfortable with intimacy and closeness, can depend on others and also let others depend on them. When it comes to conflict, they engage conflict without aiming to hurt the other person because they don't see the other person as the problem. They know that conflict happens and we can resolve the conflict. It doesn't mean that the other person is bad. Then they are able to forgive easily. Their communication is also very good. They communicate emotions, needs, and wishes openly. They are attuned to their partner's needs, so they can also have a sense of what their partner needs and is well able and willing to give the partner what the partner needs in a relationship. So this makes them relationship masters. It does not necessarily mean that they could not get into a bad relationship or even suffer divorce. But the divorce rate, especially when secure people marry secure people, is very low because they have inbuilt characteristics that help them manage relationships well. Now, for the avoidant views intimacy and dependence as weakness in relationship. They view this as weakness. They have a very strong value for independence and self-reliance. Remember, they couldn't rely earlier on their caregivers, and hence they take that into relationships as well. Then they have a high sense of self-worth, but a negative view of other people. So these are the people that will say, how can I trust this person? How can I trust that what they are saying is actually true? Without signs that this is not true. They are often concerned, if I marry this person, are you sure this is the best person for me, or there will be somebody in the future that will be better for this? Hence, they stay longer in the dating pool. They don't get married really early. They are one of the people that would have dated several people before finally just running into one relationship and settling down. Now, when you look at intimacy, they equate intimacy with a loss of self. Hence, in intimate relationships, they do their best to maintain distance. They emphasize clear boundaries. No, this is my space, that's your space. When we come into they probably will not want to share the same bedroom with their partners. They will say, you stay here. When we want to have sex, we can come together, but you stay here. Some of them can even use sex as a distancing tool. So they limit how many sexual relationships happen in the marriage, or they limit the level of intimacy within the sex. So these are people that will not want a lot of foreplay when they're having sex. They'll probably just want to do a quickie and leave, immediately separating and moving to another space. Now, when we talk about these things, there are many categories. I just picked a few that buttresses the point. But for all the attachment style, it's like a spectrum. Some people are high and other people are low. So depending on where they fall on this spectrum, what you would see may have some variance. So like for some people, you will not notice this with their sexual relationships, but you will notice it with other parts of the relationship. In fact, some are so high on this intimacy being a weakness and being a loss of independence that they would have other sexual partners outside the relationship just to create an emotional gap between them and their partners. Now, for conflict, they avoid conflict seriously. They don't want to engage in conflict. They see conflicts as evil. So when anything happens, they'll probably pull themselves out of the space and go somewhere else. If their partner insists on having a conflict conversation, they could just have an outburst just to push the person away so that they can leave, because their space, their self, they are people whose values are, they have self-reliance as a very high value. So giving their partner that room to have a conflict conversation is also allowing for intimacy, because when you sit together to talk about things that are wrong, you come really close to each other. Because they are avoiding that closeness, they also avoid the conflict. Now, remember that all these are things that are stored in the people's nervous systems. So we are not conscious that these are the choices we are making. We just act as we feel. It's just an action as they feel. Now, some of them could become workaholics. In fact, I've had a client who was a pastor and was like 100% committed in church. He would leave anything to be in church. His church was a hiding place for him in the relationship. So he would rather spend time in church than spend time with the wife. And church became that place for him. So it could be anything. It doesn't have to be negative, but just something that pulls them away from the relationship and ensures that the relationship is not as intimate or as close as it should be. Then with communication, they are not comfortable discussing their emotions. They easily feel overwhelmed when they are talking about emotions, or when their partners begin to talk about their own emotions and needs within the relationship. Before you know it, they get overwhelmed and they want to pull out from the conversation and all. Then for the anxious people are often preoccupied with their relationship. Like they are kind of like the thermometers of their relationship. If the relationship is not right, every other thing in their lives cannot function well. They'll probably be at work and be thinking, hey, what is she doing now? Where is she? Who is she talking with? They're the kinds of people who in relationships also can leave 50 missed calls for their partners because they tried to call and the person didn't pick, and then they are worried. Are you sure this person still cares about me? Does he still love me? And they keep trying to reach out to their partner. They have a low sense of self-worth, but a very positive view of others. So it is them oftentimes. So when relationships have problems, they look inwards. They look at themselves as the bad person, as the person who is creating the problem, as the person who needs to do something to fix the problem. And then they hold their partners on high pedestals, very high, looking up to them and hoping that they help them. Now, these people also become very prone, especially those that are on the higher end of the spectrum, to be in abusive relationships, because when the abuser is treating them poorly and saying it's their fault, they have an inner confirmation that this is true. They are the ones responsible for everything that is happening to them. For intimacy, they want merging. They literally want to melt into the other person. So they want closeness. Sometimes it's described as being very needy in relationship. For conflicts, they are argumentative. They could become hypersensitive with their partners and use activation strategies. So like they demonstrate, these are the people that if you have an argument, if they are not yet married, they are dating and they have an argument with their partner, the next day you will see them with another guy and they will carry the guy along, not because they are dating the guy, but to make their partner jealous. So they do those things to just show the other person that, see, I can live without you, even though they're dying inside. You get it is called protest behaviors. Yes, so they exhibit a lot of protest behaviors in their relationship. They could just get up and scream and shout, "No, you can't leave me!" And you're wondering, for this small thing, you are exaggerating and behaving like this. It's because they become hypersensitive. Now, these people also are because they are very sensitive, they can notice minute change in their partners. Yes, protest behaviors, minute changes in their partner. So when their partner pulls away but doesn't say anything, just pulls away, and it shows, because our physiology usually is how we communicate the most, is 55% of our communication. They notice it immediately and react immediately to that move away, or to that, "Oh, I'm tired, please." Say, "You're tired of me," and then quarrel ensues. Now with communication, they are not very collaborative. They tend to use protest behaviors. For the avoidance use what we call deactivation strategies. So that's the strategy of having another person, or of even using a previous relationship. It is called Phantom X, a previous relationship as the standard person they have dated. And everything their partner does, they compare with that person. Oh, if it was Grace knew exactly what to do, how to meet my needs and everything. Ask them why that relationship failed, and they don't have a straight story to how it failed, because it's the same thing. They only idealize that relationship after the relationship had failed. Then finally, for the disorganized attachment style. The disorganized attachment styles are people who don't trust others, neither do they trust themselves. Now, these people have a low sense of self-worth and a negative view over towards other people. So they have the avoidance tendency and the anxious tendency. What you see with avoidance, you would see with them, but it's mixed because it's confusing. Sometimes they behave like an avoidant, sometimes they behave like an anxious person. They're just in the middle. They can be aggressive, or they desire intimacy but are afraid of it. They often lash out during conflict and still attempt to come close. So it's just a confusion. And most of these people with these attachment styles have very deep trauma. And those traumas were probably created by the people who matter the most during their growing up years. Please, if you are following and you have gotten everything I have shared so far, can you just put something on the chat box that makes me know what has stood out for you so far in our conversation? I will be rounding up. Okay, I still have some time. Okay. So just write something that has stood out to you in this conversation so far. Thank you, ma'am. Coach Bashirat. Thank you. Okay, so for unions, Coach Tega, thank you. For unions, now unions usually happens most of the time across attachment styles. Secure people can marry any of these other people, and then also marry secure people. Anxious people can also do the same, marry across. However, there's a strong affinity between anxious people and avoidant people because they are two opposite sides of the same coin. One person looks at other people and has so it's more like a refresher course. Fantastic. So anxious people are people who are low on self-esteem, and hence they look at their self-worth through the eyes of their partner, while avoidant people are people who are very high on self-esteem but mistrustful of others. So when they come into relationships, sorry, I want to see what some people have written. Somebody said, I've seen different people as you speak. Yeah, so that's usually the thing. So when you have anxious, the anxious person looks at the avoidance and admires their quality, how self-reliant they are, how independent they are, because this is something they don't have. Then the avoidant looks at the anxious person and says, oh, this person so believes in others. They have this open mind to others. I wish I trusted people like that. So they have that as opposite. Then also for the anxious person, the avoidant person is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, various family interrelationships, yes. So the avoidant person can become a self-fulfilling prophecy because their prophecy is, I don't believe in myself. I'm not good enough. Love is hard for me to get. People don't really love me the way I want them to love me. When I find relationships, I lose them very fast. I lose the people that really matter to me. I'm really afraid of being abandoned and being alone in my life. I just want somebody that will be my person that I will cling to and will be together forever. So, but because they have this internal working model, they oftentimes fall in love with the wrong person, who is the avoider. The avoider fulfills their prophecy, because the avoider keeps telling them, you see, you're not trustworthy. That's what they read. That's their interpretation. The avoider fulfills their belief that they will be abandoned, that they are not lovable, that they are not worthy to be loved, and all. For the avoider, the anxious person is also a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you let down your guard and allow yourself to come into intimacy, it becomes a trap, because the person will want you, whole of you. They will not want part of you. They want everything that you are. So this person is also fulfilling their belief that people are not to be trusted, that people can take you and you lose yourself completely because you are in a relationship with them. However, their affinity is really strong. Now, we know that from attachment theory, it takes about 2 years for people to form an attachment bond. Hence, it is no surprise that even on the streets, we usually say that honeymoon lasts for 2 years. Now, that's not to say that these tendencies will not have presented themselves before those 2 years, but by the 2-year mark, they would have fully come into attachment. That's fully replaced their parents with their partners as the attachment figure, the primary attachment figure. And then they begin to see an escalation in conflict because of their difference. This person wants intimacy, the other one is afraid of intimacy. So when this person calls, the other runs. When this person calls, the other runs. Let me give stories to elaborate this. It's so ingrained in their fights and all. Now, without this knowledge, a lot of conflicts were looked at and it was confusing. Let me give a story. Now, there was a story of this couple. The lady would usually go to wash their clothes in her sister's house every Saturday. And so the man was like, why do you have to go to your sister's place to wash on Saturdays? Why can't you wash at home? And she says, no, but her sister has a washing machine, so it is easier because she will wash the clothes with the washing machine. It makes it easier. She doesn't have to do much of the work and all. So 3 weeks later, the man comes home and says, you know what? I have money and we are going to buy a washing machine so that we solve this problem once and for all. You stop going to your sister's place and use the washing machine to wash. And she goes, no, we can't afford a washing machine. We have this to do, we have that to do, we have that to do. Washing machine is very low on our hierarchy of importance. We cannot waste that money on washing machine. Let's use it to do X, Y, Z. And he's like, no, but you still go out to wash. Why would you be going out? It's not, I feel like I'm a bad husband because my wife is always going out to wash instead of staying at home and all. So the washing machine has become a priority. And then the argument continues. The argument continues. Now, if I give you more flesh to this argument, you will see the pattern emerge. The wife works long hours through the week. So from Monday to Friday, they have very little time for themselves as a couple. Sundays is the day they spend like 80% of the time in church, because after church, there's this meeting to attend. She's in different groups. She has commitments. She's a leader in the church. And also Sundays are out of it. The only possible day that the both of them do not work and the both of them can be available is Saturday. And Saturday becomes the day she goes to wash at her sister's and spends the whole day coming back in the evening. So what they are actually arguing about is time spent together, not about washing machine. So if we were to solve washing machine problem, it will still not solve the problem. Buy a washing machine and give this couple, she will find another thing to do on Saturday that will take her out of the house. And meanwhile, she is not being malicious because she loves her husband. I also have a couple, a woman who reached me one time and was saying she doesn't know what to do in her marriage. She's so tired that everything she does in this marriage is for her husband to make him happy, and yet she feels frustrated because he doesn't see her efforts. He doesn't appreciate them. That there was this day, I think she said it was their anniversary or so. So she went out, bought wine, dressed up, made a new dress, made her hair and all. And because the man works late, she took the wine, bought cakes, bought some stuff, put them in a basket, and went over to meet him at his place of work to have a small romantic evening, even if it's just for 20 minutes, and then she could come back home since he was working late. Now she got to his office and said, oh, I came so that we can spend this time together. And immediately he saw her, he said, where did you keep the children? With whom did you leave our children? She said, no, don't worry. I gave them over to a friend. A friend? Can you trust that friend? And everything. He just got into a bad mood that spoiled the whole evening. She was so angry. She packed back everything she brought and walked back home. Normally, we'll say, become more emotional. But there's something underground running these conflicts. Now, this is what happens usually. Now, for avoiders, marrying avoiders, it rarely happens because the both of them are not emotional enough to keep a relationship going. The relationship will hardly be maintained. Hence, it is very difficult to find two avoiders in a marriage. But you can find two anxious people in a marriage. They're anxious, their relationship is usually very intense. High excitement and high negativity. They fight, then they resolve and have very deep, intimate resolution. Then they fight, and it's always on the edges, like exaggerated on both sides and all. Now, usually I tell clients when they come to meet me, I say that attachment styles are not labels. So it's not to say, oh, I'm avoidant, and begin to feel like there's nothing I can do to change it. Attachment styles were learned behavior. Because they were learned behavior, they can also be unlearned. They are not fixed labels. It's just like how, what do they call it now? When we talk about how you behave, temperaments, yes, just like temperaments, researchers say that on a normal, without intervention, just life happening, one in every 4 person changes their temperaments in 4 years. Because temperaments are also things that change. The more you improve yourself, self-improvement, and all, the weakness of one temperament is the strength of the other. And hence, as you keep working on yourself, you can actually begin to flatline the negativity in your temperament and hence changing it. It's the same thing with attachment styles. Attachment styles are plastic. They can change over time once you are aware and you know what to do. Also, I want to sound a caution. If you find yourself as secure, it doesn't mean that you cannot also lose security, that secure base. Because we come into relationships, if a secure person marries a very high avoidant partner, the chances that this secure person will become anxious after some years in the marriage is very high, except they know this and begin to protect themselves. Until if they can look at the avoider and knowing that the time spent alone is not a determination of who they are or the fact that they are unloved in this relationship. It's just that that person needs it to be themselves. If they begin to have these perspectives, then they can stop this from happening. I remember a lady reached out to me after I'd finished sharing, and she said to me, she said, I am an anxious person, and I became anxious because of my husband. Because as you were talking, I knew that before I got into this relationship, I was very secure. I could hold conversations. I could feel love for myself. I didn't need somebody to tell me who I was and what I needed. But within this relationship, I have discovered that I've become really anxious. In fact, at the time we were talking, she was already in depression. So that can happen in relationships. So of course, it can also happen with an anxious person, that the secure person moves over and becomes avoidant. Now, notice that the person does not become the trait of their partner. They move to the opposing side of the trait. Because when you are with somebody who is always needing you and everything, it can get so burdensome that you say, you know what, please hold it there, hold it and leave me alone. Then we begin to move to becoming avoidant. Now, with this said, right now, when I work with couples, they call me for counseling and or even singles. Once it has to do with relationship, I will do an analysis to know where you fall on this spectrum, so that when I'm intervening, I know exactly what to do. Advice will not help these couples resolve their issues. Advice will not bring them to a place of solution. It's kind of like the very funny one we talk about, the toothpaste matter, that the woman says press it from the bottom, or the man says press it from the bottom, and the other person is pressing it from the middle. And one day the partner just packs and leaves and says, you are not able to do this and all, most likely that person would be an avoidant who is emphasizing on boundaries. Boundaries have to be clear, have to be stated. I know that a lot of times we use this to make fun, to say, can't you be flexible? And also people don't tell us what they go through. They just keep it to themselves and hold it. But until we know, we cannot intervene appropriately. Now, so what are the steps to working on insecure attachment styles? Whichever one it is, these steps can help the person to begin to find a more secure base. It is possible that just by marrying a secure person, an insecure person can begin to learn how to become more secure. But it doesn't always happen, especially with the rate of, remember I said it's a spectrum, how insecure the person is, the degree of insecurity that the person has could play an important role. And of course, with the disoriented, sometimes they will need to go through a trauma therapy to help them with the factors that cause the trauma, that got them into that space where they are disorganized and fearful at the same time. So first of all, what you want to do is to identify among your friends, secure friends. Secure friends, friends who are secure in themselves, friends who are secure in their relationship. You can find this very easily. Usually what happens is that if you tell an avoidant to date a secure person, it's difficult for them to find emotional connection. The reason is because the secure person is very vocal. They can meet you and say, wow, I love that dress you're wearing. You look so beautiful in it. And then they are just straightforward. They can tell you, you know what, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. This does not contrast with the strategy for love. So we don't just fall in love. We have a system that runs who we choose to love. For the anxious person, because the anxious person is expecting to find somebody who is confusing, somebody who today shows them that they love them, tomorrow pulls away, and they have to work hard, do something to get the person's attention. But here they are not doing anything to get the attention, and so because their attachment system is not activated by the constant search, the preoccupation, and all the confusion that person puts, they get into this place and they say, oh, this person is not for me. My time is up, so I'll run. So get a secure friend, look for people that are secure and all, and then become aware of the beliefs that underscore your insecurity. Become aware of the beliefs you have for self and for others. People are not to be trusted. When you let go of your guard, they take advantage of you. You know, those kind of beliefs. You want to become aware of them and begin the steps to change them. Then also you want to identify your triggers. Your triggers will differ from another person. Your trigger is it when your partner is long gone for hours without communication? Is it when your partner comes home and is not willing to have a conversation? What is it that is the trigger? Is it when your partner is angry and is in this space where they are talking so loud that you get into the avoidant mode? What are the triggers? When you identify the triggers, you want to also identify the accompanying body sensation that comes with these triggers and the action tendency, because our action tendencies will differ. Okay, then finally, find a surrogate attachment figure. You know how we say love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. Love is actually the way to get through attachment insecurity, either for the avoidant, the anxious, or the disoriented. That's the way. However, we do not learn love independent of relationships. We need relationships to help us forge that loving environment. Hence, you want to connect with somebody who becomes your surrogate attachment system. This may be the person who is working with you, a coach or a therapist or God. But if it is God, remember that the relationship cannot be superficial. It has to be deep, because for many people, God becomes that surrogate attachment figure, and they connect with him deeply and find somebody who is stable, that consistently gives them the responses, the connection that they need to develop security in themselves. But to say, oh, love yourself, and then the person is going out, taking themselves out for a date and all, is not love. It does not deal with the underlying situations that can get them help. Finally, seek help. Get somebody to work with you. This is where I'll stop. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have this conversation. Thank you, OSP. Thank you, SOPCA. And I'm here to take questions. Tega, over to you.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it very much. Well done, Mrs. Oblete. I love to listen to you when you're talking about family dynamics. It's just a very refreshing thing because these days we see a lot of people don't understand the family values anymore. We're throwing everything, throwing caution to the wind. Nobody wants to take their time to put, the effort in the marriage anymore. But, it's a beautiful thing that people like you come up and decide that you take it upon yourself to restore the sanctity in marriages and family life. I love it very much. Well done. You have done amazing. If you guys really you're looking for a therapist or someone that can help someone that is willing to fix their marriage, please reach out to Nancy. She's amazing at what she does. So we're ready to take questions. I found myself in one of the things that you were asking. I'm not going to say it out so that nobody will know what my life is about. Now, later I will message you and tell you where I am. I actually got myself out and I put my hand on my head, and I need to actually go back. And I went down memory lane and I realized that really it was some things that could have happened to me as a child in the name of being, afraid of being left. And that was a pattern that I followed. I was always afraid of being left because my mother left home at about 5. She didn't abandon my father. She went to the UK. I always tell people Japa didn't start today. My mom Japa like when I was 5 years old for a better life. So I really always felt abandoned. And so I always wanted to leave people before they left me. I didn't want to ever be there. And I didn't even realize how much that marked my soul until, you broke this thing down now. And I actually was writing. It was quite emotional for me. I love what you've done. I will reach out to you by myself. I know how to find you and worry your life. Okay. No, Dosumu says, same here too, Tega, but my husband has done a wonderful job in your life. I love it. Beautiful. Okay, if we don't have any questions in right now, none in the chat room, that means it was quite explanatory and we love it. We appreciate her. Please just appreciate her in the chat room with your favorite emoji. Okay, someone is saying, are there people that have a mix of these personalities?
So yeah, a mix of avoidant and anxious will be disorganized, and also is a spectrum, so it may not be one-sided. Then some people are secure, but in really intense situation they could tend to tilt because it's also a spectrum. Security is also a spectrum. So yes, there could be some mix here and there, but there's always the predominant one that prevails in most situations.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you very much, Ms. Nancy. God bless you. We really appreciate it. Please reach out to her if you are in need of her services. I love OSP, where it's a beautiful blend of amazing people. Well done. Thank you. So we're going ahead now and we are going to call in the circuit team. But Stella, do I need to read your bio or do you just go ahead? Please take the floor. We're ready for you now.
Hello, my bio, okay?
I'm just teasing you, of course.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Give me a few, let me set my camera right. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, I'm just going to be speaking on mental health. How has it been so far for us? Please use the favorite emoji in the chat room. Put a 1, a 2, a 0. How has it been for you?
Been amazing, really amazing. I've had a very good time between yesterday and today.
Thank you so much, Coach Tega. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be talking briefly on mental health courses happening in the month of March. So our first level for mental health will be mental health, first aid on addiction handling, and lifestyle medicine. Lifestyle medicine is one new topic we have just introduced. Lifestyle medicine is this is going to be like, we always bring new content. Every year we bring in new content. Every batch, every set, they experience something new. So this is a new content for SECA Africa. We're introducing lifestyle medicine. And then of course, we're going to be doing a lot on addiction, handling, and these days, Coach Tega, what do you say we should call them? We shouldn't call them addicts anymore. We should call them
They are drug
users.
victims. They are victims. They are not addicts. It's very
Victims
for
are
you
not
to-
addicts. They are victims and not addicts. Okay, so we're going to be bringing live cases on people who are currently using drugs and how they are handling it, or how they wish, or how they have been handling it. And of course, one of our very favorite faculty members is Coach Tega. Coach Tega happens to be the one who comes up to tell us how she has worked through the years, staying very sober. Thank you so much. And I heard something from Coach Tega the last time she trained, or every time she comes out to train, she'll tell you that they are usually in recovery. So this is a course you want to do. This is a course, and this is an introduction into other levels. Other levels, before you can attend other levels, you must have attended level 1. So let me move to level 2. Level 2 is where we talk about motivational interviewing, grief management. Grief does not really necessarily have to do with the loss of a loved one. It has to do with loss of anything. It can be the loss of a pair of earrings that you have grieved, or you have mourned, or you have wished that you find. Mine can be the loss of a pair of shoes, or one leg of a pair. So grief is what we're going to be delving into grief, talking so much about grief. And of course, we're going to be doing meditation and mindfulness in level 2. So these levels, we are here to offer you very, very useful discounts on these levels. If you're interested in taking any of the levels, before you can take level 2, you must have taken level 1. Before you take level 3, but level 2 and 3 are optional. Level 1 is the only compulsory level you have to take before you can take any other level. So you can take level 2 and level 1, or level 1 and level 2, or level 1 and level 4. Level 3 and 4, we merged it. So I'm just going to show you the slide for level 4. This is level 4. Here we're going to be talking about adverse and positive child experiences. Adverse and positive child experiences. We're going to be delving into family life, family system, just like when grew up with these adverse experiences, and then it shows up in their lives, it shows up in their marriages, it shows up in the way that they relate with people, even at work and even in the workplace and in their very individual lives. So here we're going to be talking about adverse childhood experiences or positive childhood experiences, and then of course, how to build healthy families, how, and then mental health in the workplace. So you see a lot of people who come to work and you're wondering, okay, please tell me about your childhood. So we're going to be talking about this in level 3, and level 3 runs for 5 days. Level 3 is 350,000 naira only. But we're offering a discount. For anyone on this call that wants to take this class, or you know someone who wants to take the class, between now and Monday 12 noon, we're offering level 3 at 50,000 naira off. So you get to pay 300,000 naira only for level 3. Well, for level 2 and 1, level 1, you get to pay 200,000 naira to be a participant in this class. This certifies you to be called a mental health first aider. Just like we have the first aiders, this is what you do when you encounter a mental health situation. So when there's a mental health situation, you are expected to bring on your skills. As a mental health first aider, you're expected to bring on your skills. So here is where we talk about everything about being a mental health first aider and how you can, from here, transcend into becoming a therapist. So please, if you're interested in any of the classes, of course, level 1 and any of the classes, and if you have done level 1, it is time to come in for a refresher. It is time to come in for a refresher, and it is also time to come in for other levels. Come for a refresher, and then you get a very juicy discount. Reach me directly on my number. So I'll drop my number in the chat room. For the levels 2 and 3, you get to pay 200,000 between now and 12 noon on Monday. That is when the 200,000 naira discount applies. So if you don't pay between now and Monday, you get to pay the full fee of 250,000. We look forward to having you in class. On the 3rd of March, we'll be having our mental health buffet, and we'll be talking so much about lifestyle medicine. For those of us that have attended mental health trainings, please come in. Let's talk about lifestyle medicine. Let's talk about alternative lifestyle medicine. So see you in class. I look forward to getting your messages, your chats, and then your calls as well. Thank you so much, Coach Tega. I will take a break from here.
Thank you, Coach Stella, our own Coach Stella that we love so much. Thank you for that. I really encourage that people should do this mental health first aid. This is what actually threw me in the direction of the work I'm doing now. And that was in 2018. As soon as we're done with the BCP conference, I did the level 1 and that was it. I knew there was no going back. I wasn't going to go back anymore. So you should come into the room. There is no health without mental health. And these days we have too many people going around with mental health issues that they don't know, and they're stigmatizing them. So please get in, and you will thank me later. Do we have our last speaker in the room, our 7th speaker? Okay, I think he's here. Okay. Abdullahi Bello Umar is a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management, NIM, a past chapter chairman and a chartered management practitioner. Described as clever, adept, and contemporary, Abdullahi can create novel solutions, takes proficiency seriously, and tries to stay relevant. He's creative, visionary, and entrepreneurial with fresh perspective. He thwarts tradition, has a gift of turning off phrases, and has ample understanding of the creative use of emotional power. Pardon me. He's an accredited trainer of the Center for Management Development in Nigeria, a senior Tony Bazan licensed instructor in the UK, and a Bigger Plate certified mind mapper in the UK. He is an expert who advocates mental literacy through creativity, whole brain thinking, mind mapping, and accelerated learning through his firm Mind Zone Limited. He passionately believes learning is the foundational skill. His working experience spans across the private and public sector, including almost a decade and a half in banking, United Bank for Africa PLC, Standard Trust Bank PLC, First Atlantic Bank PLC, and FinBank PLC. He was a past MD CEO of the state-owned Kaduna Industrial and Finance Company Limited investment house for about 3 years. He holds a BSc and an MBA from Bayero University, Kano, and Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria in Nigeria, respectively. He's currently a doctorate candidate of the Swiss Management Center University and an adjunct factor member of the Kaduna Business School. Abdullahi is also a compulsive learner and dreamer addicted to personal development targeted towards human transformation. He loves contributing and giving back, lifelong learning, business partnership, management, employee well-being, welfare, stoicism, ego detachment, morals and ethics, life transitions, intelligent discourse, arts, music, reading, writing, sketching, watching movies, and hate injections. I love that very much, especially the way you just added the hate injection. Thank you very much. It will be such an honor to have you speak to us this afternoon, Abdullahi Bello Umar. Please go ahead, sir. You have been given rights to also share a screen if you have one.
Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. In fact, when Tega was reading that thing, I was like, who is this person? It's very interesting when you hear such things being spoken about or read, and you wonder whether you are the person. Yeah, it's very interesting also. If we remember our session yesterday, which the RAS started, when you think about all these things, well, at a point, they don't really matter, but then again, they matter. It's your first handshake so that people get to know you, those who don't. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Abdullahi Bello Umar, and I might not sound it, but at the moment, I'm confronted with the technology of my phone and my laptop, and I'm just busy looking at them as if there are some strange things. You can imagine those kind of technical accidents. Anyway, Stella, I don't know, do you have I sent my slides.
Let me check.
Because right now, before I get...
Let me check.
Oh, okay. Before I set up my computer, I think can be very interesting. So anyway, I've enjoyed because I tried to be here for almost all. I wanted to be here for all. I think I just needed the expert lady who gave us a very fine presentation. I just missed about 30 minutes or so presentation. But these are the kind of things that happen in life. When you plan things, the plan also plans. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Because when things happen, there's some things that you can do, some things you cannot. And that's how that is. The Lord mentioned something. He asked us whether we knew better. It was a very interesting session because I don't know how many people we had here, but there was one very cool house movie.
Sorry, sir, you're a bit muffled. Sorry, you're a bit muffled. I'm not sure. Are you using two devices?
I'm being muffled. Okay. But can you hear me now?
There's an echo. I'm not sure if you're using devices. That happens sometimes when we're using two devices.
Yeah. Pardon me. I just got my laptop. My desk. And I was using my phone initially. That's why I asked several hours. But I think I should be through with the conclusion. That's what happens when so give me a couple of minutes and I will be through.
Okay, that's fine, sir.
Yes. I will do it on everything until I will have only one event.
Please don't forget to pen down your questions. If there's any that you thought of later, we can take them at some point at the end of the sessions. It will be important if you really want to get clarity. And then also we would like to tell members that are here, if you want to speak in the month of March, just send a message to OBK, Mr. OBK Chima, to get you in for next month. You can see that it's really amazing how we are learning new things every day. Okay, I think the slide is up now. I'll just hold on for him to continue.
Am I clear? Can you hear me now?
Fantastic, sir. Very clear.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you see your slides, sir?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much, Stella. You've been, well, anyway, it's what we expect from a powerful lady like you. Thank you very much. Yes. So I think I've disconnected the phone right now and we're good to go. So yeah, you remember I mentioned Ra when he spoke about whether we knew who we were. And I was talking about a house of him, a very old house of him, actually. It's called Samudari, very old. Back in the day when the act was now like the new MD of the film corporation. I don't know. There used to be one lenke looking kind of people like that. But over time, they became so lovely. There was a very, very funny scene where we had these olden days policemen who used to wear short knickers. I believe some of you might remember seen pictures of some of them. And he was busy trying to toast this lady. There was a very important question which he asked, which acted as a kind of comedy. And then, I mean, it's real when you look at it. Somebody came to challenge him while he was there busy trying to get the lady's attention. And the guy was in Mufti, he was in uniform, so that's why he felt he could intimidate, well, like almost anyone. And he asked him a question in Hausa. He said, Wanene kai? In a very funny comedic manner anyway. But the essence of the thing for those who don't know how to speak Hausa is, who are you? Well, lo and behold, it happened that that person was actually in Mufti. He was a senior, if more senior than this guy in the police force. So, of course, you can imagine the comedic catastrophe that happened there. And the guy was shaking literally at the knees. I don't know how the guy did that. It was very funny, actually. So, but that question was essentially what the Ra asked us yesterday. Do we know who we are? Who are we? Who are we? And it's a very important question that we need to get to the root of, just like he explained. And we shouldn't forget that. Who are we? So that we understand the best of what we are, we avoid the worst of what we are, and, move on with life. I remember yesterday, Tega also mentioned, getting over so many things when all of a sudden her office now decided to change locations and now go to, again, a very inappropriate place for her and in her position at that point in time. You get what I'm saying? So these are the kind of things. And one of the major things that I remember she said is that we need to position ourselves appropriately, put things near us that we want to kind of follow or portray or whatever. You want to go to the gym, keep your canvas where you can see them. You want to do, I do a lot of that. I want to read, I put books near me. Of course, my wife will decide that later the room, anyhow, what she will move the books. But I want to see them because it is when I see them that sometimes, at least even if it's the feeling of guilt that will overcome me, and I will really read those things because it's not easy to even read those things. So many interesting things. And of course, we had the digital marketer yesterday, Nancy, who really gave us some wonderful things about her real life experience. Well, all these things, when you look at all of them, they now culminate into what I'm trying to present here. This is essentially an excerpt of a book by an author called Robin Sharma. I'm sure many of us have heard of him. And it's some excerpts from his book, The Little Book of Stunning Secrets. So I'll go ahead with the slide at the moment. Yeah. So how to get good at life? The first thing is pay attention to life. I mean, it goes without saying. We all know these things. Or do we? You get what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy when you look at the whole thing. But you must pay attention to your life. You must. This is key. There's no gainsaying about it. So when you look at it, you have to be deliberate in what you do with the life. What do you want to do? What are you now? Do you want to continue being where you are at the moment, or do you want to change? What do you want? It's a little, well, for some of us, it's a kind of a little late in life to think about changes. Not that it is impossible. It is not. Nothing is impossible. But you need to be deliberate. All right? Okay. So can we go ahead? One of the first things when being deliberate is, well, I of course, this is the play of words. I said sleep not. Nobody can live without sleep. Definitely. But I must confess that when I saw this, and what he actually mentioned was, one shouldn't sleep too much. I mean, you shouldn't just be sleeping anyhow. And I can remember back in secondary school days, our joy was to just get home during the holidays and just sleep, 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 sleep. Oh, we all know now with the exigencies of life that we can't afford to just sleep anyhow. Of course, you must sleep, but you can't afford to sleep anyhow. So essentially, what this is saying is that you shouldn't oversleep. You shouldn't sleep too much because people are there working their lives, trying to make something of their lives, trying to do things. So you can't afford to sleep too much. If you sleep too much, you find yourself sleeping too much, more than I think health-wise. So experts do mention that you shouldn't sleep more than. I'm sorry, you should sleep about between 6 and 8 hours a day. If you sleep less than that, bros, or sister, problem do problem. All right. Also, write in a journal. Back in the day, of course, our lady counterparts used to write in diaries, and we kind of think that it's a girly thing to do, right? Well, write in a journal. You need to get a journal and write in it. Maybe write out some of your plans, maybe write out things that happen to you. Okay, that's what people do when they diarize events and stuff like that. But people write about essential or very important things that happen to them in their life, and people also write out their plans, but you need to write. The idea of writing is that you will not forget, because sometimes you go back, you read these stuff, and you see things that have happened. Sometimes a pattern even emerges. Sometimes some things that you never knew you knew, or never knew you were interested in, you find them there, and then you can tick them out. Okay, let's go ahead. So when writing in a journal, you can write out your goals, just like I mentioned earlier. Write out goals. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you aspire to be? What do you want to stop? Okay, so many things. Next. Also, your values. Of course, your values are all those things that you cherish. Things that you cherish, just like I think a speaker mentioned something about trust here. In fact, more than one person spoke about trust, spoke about integrity. Do you value trust? You value friendship? Do you value family? I mean, what are your values? You need to know your values and write them out in your journal. All right. Yeah. Next. Then, what are the life lessons that you have learned along the way? What are those things that you've learned along the way? While Tega was reading that profile, she mentioned the fact that I worked in in several banks actually, before joining the Kaduna State Investment Industrial and Development Company, Industrial and Finance Company. Can you imagine? All days don't set in. Anyway, don't mind me, Jerry. But the fact of the matter is that when leaving that private sector, okay, I joined the public sector. That was my first time. I had spent like 15 years in the private sector, and I came to the public sector. And you know how, in quotes, almost all of us believe and hear. We hear that the public sector, they're lazy, maybe they don't know how to do things like the private sector, blah, 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 all those English. Let me tell you, when I had a kind of baptism of fire when I in this public sector, because there was a time in Kaduna here, in Kaduna State, there was a time I had to go and face a certain committee of the Kaduna State House of Assembly because of that job. Now, mark you, was and continues to be where I live my life, Kaduna. I have never in my almost 5 decades of or my 5 decades of existence gone into that premises, but I had to go because of this job. So these are lessons. You need to understand that, yeah, things happen. Sometimes they happen for a reason. Yeah, we all know that. But never you belittle anyone. Any and every human being is key, has value, has things to teach. And I learned a very bitter lesson then, but it was an enlightening one. I knew that, of course, these people, the public sector is as good as the people within it. Okay. So you can have good people and you can have bad people. All right. Good and fine. So the next step is for you to engage in life. You must engage yourself. Okay. You must engage in life. Be there. Be present. The Ra mentioned about presence. Was it the Ra or who was it who mentioned presence? You must be present in what you do. Otherwise, wahala, because you cannot just be going automatic by remote control or whatever. If you don't take charge of your life, somebody else will. All right, let's go ahead. So we all know this as a fact of life, don't we? I mean, give more, you get more. If you hoard, it will be hoarded. I mean, that's life. If you have not experienced it, let me just tap a little story. Maybe some of you might have experienced this thing. Back in the day when I was still in secondary school, when we used to go and disturb our parents, especially my dad, and say we want maybe some small pocket money, this, that. He will give us some pocket money. I'll put it in my pocket. Go here, spend. These were days when if they give you 5 naira, man, you don't get money. So don't be thinking the way they talk today. So, but once the money starts depleting, I will now hold it inside my pocket and say, I won't spend. Then for a week or so, nothing will happen until I'm forced to spend that remaining change in my pocket. Immediately I spend it. I'll get some more from somewhere. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. What I'm just trying to say is that it is when you spend that things come. They don't just come just because you are sitting down there and you are hoarding something. When you are spending money, you are buying something for somebody who needs that money and you are getting value of something else, right? But if you keep it with you, then keep it now. The life too will also keep its own goodies. They will not come to you. So the basic thing is that you have to give more to get more. You have to do more to see more. You have to spend more to get more. I don't know if this resonates, but it does resonate with me, and that's why I don't fret in spending. Next, set goals. I mentioned this earlier. You have to, when you can set goals in your journal or wherever you feel more comfortable, but do set goals. You want to achieve this. You want to learn this. You want to be a member of Octopus Speakers Pool. You write it out. When do you want to? How much is it? What do you need to do to get to that level? Set goals. You need to be deliberate. That's why we said you should engage in life. All right. Next. And this is closely follows the set goals, because once you have set goals, you need to make plans. What do you want to do? How do you achieve that which you have set in the first place? What kind of plans would you do? You need to invest money to become a member of something? Do you need okay, how much do you need? Where are you going to get these monies from? Okay, will it help you in future? Because you should not just be making nonsense jaguaristic plans. Or make plans that you know would have a bearing on your life in future, on your life of your loved ones. Okay, make plans. Let's go. Then you take action. I love a certain quote. I've forgotten who it was who mentioned this quote, but maybe you are a combination. Maybe for the football fans, let's say you see a footballer who's a combination between the skills of Okocha, AA Okocha, skills of Kanu Nwankwo, skills of Messi, skills of Ronaldo, and whomsoever, like 5 different powerful people, but you have all the skills, which means that you are almost the best in the whole world. You cannot score a goal unless you go into the stadium and participate in the match. If you stay in the parking lot, even if you go to the stadium, you stay in the parking lot, no matter your skills, nothing will happen. No. You can't score a goal. I mean, motor your own kick. Nothing will happen. Okay? Nothing. So you have to take action. You have to know exactly what you need to do and then take action. Next. Then chase your dreams. Chase your dreams. This is very key. In fact, I remember when I saw this, what came to my mind immediately. I don't know what. I mean, what? Okay, let me just ask in the in the group here. What does this chase your dreams come to you? Just maybe in a sentence or a word or whatever. Please, in the chat, just kindly share. Can we have just, even if it's just 5 people, share. If we see chase your dreams, what comes to your mind immediately? What comes to your mind? Then afterwards, I would share what came to my mind immediately when I said chase your dreams. So I'm looking in the chat right now. Break the chain. I love this. Yes, indeed. So who else? Break the chain. Taufik Lawal, thank you very much. Break the chain. Who else? Who else? I mean, what does it chase your dreams? The player would be somebody said Zinedine Zidane. Okay. Yeah, my football knowledge is up to that level. I know this guy. Do what it takes to activate your goal. Yes, yes, definitely. This is Nancy Obleti. Then go for it, Obike Chima. Wow, wonderful. Yes, definitely. All these things that you said, and even more. But what came to my mind when I read it was the new mantra in Nigeria: no grief for anybody. Who can identify with that? Who can identify with no grief for anybody? Yeah, so Nancy said yes, so and somebody gave me a thumbs up. Mary, chase your passion. Definitely. Definitely. So chase your dreams. So just no grief for anybody. But of course, in the legal manner, because we didn't say you should go and connive or cheat your way into things. The way we do things, the way the octopus has taught us to do things. Do it right. Do it, but just do it. You know? So chase your passion and do everything. All right. So next slide. Do your best, leave the rest. I'm sure some of you, what is the full quotation here? Can somebody hazard a guess, or what somebody knows? Do your best, leave the rest. To who? I'm giving a clue here. Leave the rest to who? This is a question, no? It's a question for some of us who are listening, no? Do your best and leave the rest to who? Nancy. In fact, Nancy is sharp. In fact, she's very fast. Yes, to God, to God. Do your best and leave the rest to God. Why else? I mean, yeah, the grand overall design. I love this thing. I just love it. In fact, I'm going to steal this with your permission. I'll steal this grand overall designer. Yes, wonderful. Any wonder why the octopus pulls the kind of crowd that he pulls? Do we know why? It's because for the octopus, it's not the religiosity of Nigerians per se. It is the spirituality. Here we have different people, different ethnicities, different faiths, different. But one thing we know is that we know what is good. We know what we ought to do. We encourage ourselves. We do so many things. We were called God by different names whatsoever. But the fact of the matter is that we must sit down and do what we need to do appropriately. And we believe that the grand overall designer, just like Tega mentioned, is there to help us with our will. Thank you very much. Okay, so the last point is enjoy life. Life is to be enjoyed. With very few exceptions. That's people maybe who are ill, who have been before with one sad or situation or the other. But almost everybody, if not everybody, should enjoy life. Life is to be enjoyed. Okay, so make sure you do that. It's very important. Next slide. Don't take life too seriously. This is a quote I got from someone, but it's not complete, as you can see from the ellipses I put at the end. Who can finish this sentence for me? Don't take life too seriously. I love this. OBK, allow me to enjoy myself. I think it was Temaya who sang that song, Abby, or there's a song like that. Very lovely. I love it. So don't take life too seriously. Who has come across this quotation? It's not complete. Deliberately. No takers? Nobody? Really? What? Okay, let me complete it for everybody here. Don't take life too seriously, because you'll never get out of it alive. Yeah, I like this. Mary Gloria, only do your part. But the main, that's lovely, by the way. But the main quotation goes like this: don't take life too seriously, because you will never get out of it alive. Who agrees with that statement? Who agrees with that statement? Remember that what makes you cry today might make you laugh tomorrow. Do we agree with that statement? Do we agree with that statement? Definitely. What makes you cry today might make you laugh tomorrow. And what makes you laugh today might make you cry tomorrow. So it's essential that you understand what it is, that way you understand what you should laugh at. They shouldn't be light matters. Or rather, if they're light, then it's just joke, but not a joke on somebody. Just something that you will generally laugh. Not only you with others can laugh. It's fun when you laugh with others. But when you laugh at others, it's bad. We all know this. But that's it. So next, yeah, this is where I just mentioned the mind map. Okay, it's a mind map rendition, which I said earlier, from Robin Sharma's book. The little book is The Little Black Book for Stunning Success. All right. So thank you very much for being my audience today. And I think I finished all my English today. All that remains now, like a friend used to say, is, are, and they. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So any questions, anything that I can shed more light on? Thank you very much.
Very much. Love it. Thank you so much, sir. And I really want to appreciate OBK for just putting all those things in the chat room. It made a lot of sense. So even if you want to forget, once you read back, you see that sleep knot is not even easy. These days when my son likes to sleep early in the morning, I think that thing is everybody. So they were telling me in his school that he's not a morning person. I say he took it from me. But the thing is, he doesn't sleep early. So when he wants to wake up in the morning, it's so stressful. I even want to let him sleep. But I find myself telling him, brother, life is not like that. You cannot love sleep so much. And he's only 2, but he needs to learn early. We can't love
definitely.
You can't love sleep
Definitely.
that much and then leave our lives to chance. I love it very much. So do we have any questions before we go ahead? Questions, please. Okay. Any questions in the chat room? Anybody? So that means it was quite clear. Okay, in the absence of any questions, please put your favorite emoji for him in the room. Appreciate him for coming in, for opening everything up to us. All these nuggets, sometimes we forget them. They may sound simple, but they are so very key. So put your favorite emoji in the chat room and show him some love. Thank you also very much. We appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So we can stop sharing his slide now as we call on OBK Chima, our community manager, to come and speak for a few minutes. On to general Q&A. Thank you very much. OBK, over to you now.
Thank you very much, Ma. I believe we all can hear me, right? Okay. Yes, can you hear me? If you can hear me, just type a yes in the chat so that I'm sure that you all can hear me. All right, thank you very much, Ma. My assignment this afternoon is very short and simple. I know that we've been enjoying an amazing session from yesterday and then today. The good thing is that our speakers have been awesome and they have shared several insights and perspectives on several topics that affects us, from the mind to the body to our finances to business and all of that. And it's important too that we continue to look at how we can navigate the several challenges we have, whether as a people, a community, or a country. And if you've been following Coach Sam very closely, you will understand that he has over the years championed the idea of brand community as one of the amazing tools that can help businesses navigate through economic challenges, no matter their level of business, whether it's a big business or a small business or just an idea. He has always believed in community, and that is why you see him pioneer several community initiatives and several projects that are doing the community, just like the Octopus Speakers Pool. And he has, over the years, tested the various tactics on community building and how community can help businesses do so. This year, he launched a book, which is Marketing Without a Budget, which is more like a comprehensive collection of all his thoughts on community, brand community, how you can navigate through several challenges about marketing and doing business in a climate like Nigeria, leveraging on a very strong community. And of course, his thought was also collaborated by several authors too, particularly Coach Othman Abdulrashid, popularly known as the King of the North, and of course, Mr. Kizito Chris Chide. So the Marketing Without a Budget is not just another book by Coach Sam. It's a very important book to have about brand, community, and everything marketing. You have read a lot about marketing. I tell you, you've not read Marketing Without a Budget. And you may know a lot about brand community, but there's something you do not know that he knows, which he has shared in that book. Getting the book is simple. Make a payment of 10,000 a copy. I'm sure a lot of us have the book already. That makes it so 10,000 naira, that's what the cost is, and you can get it via his online shop at seller.co. You can also get it from his website, samobafemi.com. I will be sharing the details on how you can get the book on the chat. I'm sure you've also been seeing it when Bostella was doing her presentation. People who buy more can get their books delivered for free. There's a copy you can get to, and then we say, okay, yes, we can get you this book delivered for free. If you buy 4 copies, 5 copies, yes, we can get you the books delivered to you within Abuja for free. But the 10,000 per copy excludes delivery, so it means that you will be taking care of your delivery expenses. Marketing Without a Budget is currently available in Kaduna, it's available in Lagos, is available in Abuja, is available wherever you are, we can deliver it to you. So all you need to do about marketing has not yet started. If you have not read Marketing Without it, in fact, you are missing a lot, because I looked through that book and there are quite a lot of things about setting up a brand, community, and of course, Chris Chidi bringing his own perspective about marketing, the several types of marketing, sales channels, how to convert people from just being spectators or what Kosan we call fans to people who pay actually, and not just stop at paying for your service, but being advocates, being people who are literally into your brand or your service. I encourage every one of us to have that book. Several testimonies have been out there for many days and months about this book. Please get your copy. It's 10,000, and you can buy on Seller. You can pay directly to his account details, which I'll be providing soon. Thank you so much. I believe that Marketing Without a Budget will revolutionize and change our businesses going forward, and it will help our communities become not just communities where we come and talk, but communities where we come and talk business and we make money at the end of the day. Thank you so much, Ma. You can take it back from here, Ma.
Okay, thank you, OBK. I really appreciate that. And I wish that everybody would get that book. I don't know how, in fact, let me just not say what I'm about to say to be look bad. Okay, so everybody left in the room. Do we have questions that would like to ask? This is the time for question and answers. Generally, questions that you wanted to ask any session that was held today. Maybe it didn't come to you immediately, and then now it has come to you in the course of the time. You can send in your question very quickly and we can deal with it. And I think there is none. In the absence of any other questions, I'd like to ask again, if you have a subject that you know that will be a blessing to anybody, encouragement, inspiring, please get in touch with OBK. He's our community manager. I'm registered to be on the March edition of the Pan-African webinar. Okay, we have a question. Any marked difference between private and public life experiences? That's from you, Mr. Abdullahi Bello Umar. It's is it still in the room? Yes, please. That question is for you, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Abdullahi, are you there? Are you there, sir? Okay, maybe he has a glitch with his network. So please, everyone, don't forget, if you'd like to be in the next edition, send a message to Mr. OBK Chima, and we will be there. Anything that can inspire, influence, or impact people, please send a message and give out what you have for free. Don't hoard your experiences. Don't hoard your knowledge. Don't hoard information.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
over
yes,
to
it's
you,
very
sir.
important. Yeah, sorry, I was the system threw me out. The marked difference is that in private sector, we always felt we had a purpose. We had there was this urgency, sense of urgency in getting things done. I think that depends, of course, on the organization where you need to get things done. In the public sector, what I noticed generally is that where people tend to be lax. They don't have that sense of urgency, but they do their jobs, okay? Especially those ones who know what they're doing, because we can't all be the same type of maybe irresponsible people or very irresponsible people. So there is no sense of urgency. Something that could be done in a day could take the public sector maybe a week. Okay, but then again, it depends on the interests that are gathered around that that thing. So maybe if it's the governor's job or maybe some very important dignitary, of course the thing will get done. So there's no real standard per se when you look at it all. And but the major thing is that we like I said earlier, you tend to belittle or maybe don't think of the public sector or the civil servants seriously until they happen to you. When something happens to you, then that's when you know. Because in public sector in Nigeria, something that you think is impossible, we shown to you clearly that it's possible. Something that you think is very possible will be turn out to be impossible. It's so crazy. It's kind of weird, if you understand what I'm saying. But when you go to the public sector, and it's very important that we need to be well-rounded in all these spheres so that we can speak authoritatively. Don't just think and you can belittle anybody anyhow. You must understand that everyone has his role to play. It's very important that we do that. And that's the only thing, the marked thing. In fact, I can just talk on and on and on about
Thank you
this
so
whole
much.
experience. But it's very important that we are well-rounded. Let's join, yeah, if we have any opportunity, join the public sector so that we can have that experience. You merge it with this one, and then you'll be well-rounded and you understand what's happening in life.
Love it. Love it. Thank you very much. So good. That's such a good response. Thank you, sir. So we have come to the end of the February edition of Pan-African webinar, the Pan-African OSP Pan-African webinar. Thank you also very much for coming in. Don't forget, if you want to be on next month, send a message to OBK and he will have you penned down with your topic. And then please don't forget, invite people. Invite. That's the reason. We need to share our influence so that people know what OSP is really about and what we're gaining. So please share, let people know, and so that they will come in. Thank you also very much. See you all next month. It was a pleasure doing this with you all. See you next month. Thank you. Circle Africa, we can have some music while everyone goes out.
Thank you so much, Coach Tega. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next month.
Okay,
Yes,
Mary Gloria is asking for the contact of the various resource persons, even from yesterday. So if you are here, please just put in your contact. What do you want exactly? You want phone numbers or social media platforms?
Have we taken the group picture already? Tega?
Yeah?
Have we taken the group picture already?
Okay, Coach Stella, please, can we take a group picture? I have put my own on the platform and then my phone number also. So everyone, you can put yours, Nancy Oblete, Titi Elat, Ojo, Abdullah, please, Mr. Benga.
I think I put my own earlier. I put it in the chat. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you also very much. We'll take the group picture. If you can put your camera on, please, by all means, let your camera come on and let the picture be taken, and then we can go and enjoy the rest of our Saturday till next month again. And also don't forget the mental health first aid level 1 to 3 trainings in March. And also if we have guests in the house, please join the OSP group. You will not even regret it. It is something that will help you on your skills as a speaker. And there are various opportunities there for you to earn some money also. So please join the OSP, invite people to join the OSP Pan-African webinar next month. Join this mental health first aid also next month. And we will see you in our community. Thank you also very much. Seka, please, some music and then enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, ma'am. Picture taken. Thank you very much.
Okay. Enjoy the rest